to get everything going. So bear with me as I get my other platform up. Busy news day, nothing special, nothing new in the Trump era. Every damn day is a busy news day. And if you take a day or two off, it just gets busier. And today is no exception. Today is no exception. It's going to be plenty to talk about here. I think we got four topics. Wow, four topics. As usual, generally one becomes the prime. Usually one topic ends up getting a lot more attention, and I think I know which one it's going to be, which is what's on the monitor behind me. But we got more to talk about than just that. Even though this topic has a hell of a lot of shit orbiting around it. This is unprecedented, I believe. I think it's been, what did they say? I think the last time they deployed, oh wow, I'm in California. Who said this? I'm in California's gone wild. Shoo shoo. Man, I would love to talk to you. Let me go ahead and get the show going, but I would love to hear from some folks on the ground there. Now, I heard earlier, because I think the Trump administration making this out to be a really big problem, and the Gavin Newsom administration is shrinking it down. How about those peaceful LA protests? And gee, I get the sarcasm. I'll give you one of these. I love you, but it ain't peaceful. It ain't peaceful. And I get your sarcasm. You are correct. That is not peaceful. And if they're calling it peaceful, then they're lying their asses off. I mean, the video kind of tells the tale. I mean, they're on overpasses, throwing fucking rocks down, smashing out police car windows and stuff like that. So no, it's not peaceful. But uh, look, I always say I don't favor what they're doing 100. I don't favor what they're doing at all. But I understand it. I understand people, just like I didn't favor what happened on January 6th, but I understand it. I mean, so it can be wrong, but it can certainly be something you understand. But that doesn't excuse what they're doing, and if they're caught doing it, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because um, you can kill somebody doing what they're doing, throwing rocks off of overpasses and shit like that, and hitting police cars in the windshield. People have died from that. I mean, there are plenty of stories. In fact, I think some teenagers out in recently got sentenced for killing a woman like that on the highway. So anyway, we do have the streams going, so we will go ahead and start momentarily in three, two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. As you may see on the monitor behind me, Trump declaring war on Los Angeles, and I don't think this is an overstatement. I really do not believe this is an overstatement. He has essentially declared war on Los Angeles, at least in my humble opinion, because it's went from hundreds of National Guardsmen to now we're getting close to 1,000 active duty Marines. Now, I'm not going to pretend like there's not a lot of shit going on in California, but is it bad enough that active duty military is needed? I mean, I've seen photos, as I just talked about, cars being smashed up. There's probably been a half a dozen cars set on fire. There's been vandalization. These are the things that happen typically in any riot. Typically in any riot, shit is vandalized, things are set on fire, and people get out of hand. But active duty Marines, I mean, the crowd is essentially unarmed. I'm going to give you, look, there's going to be a whole lot of comparisons to BLM and January 6th likely made in this broadcast. Likely made it. One of the pushbacks on particularly January 6th was, how can it be an insurrection if nobody is armed? Now, there are no videos being shown where the crowd is carrying anything but rocks. Now, obviously, a rock, if used properly, can be a deadly weapon. I'm not going to pretend like a rock is not necessarily It's not something that can be used as a weapon, but it takes precision. And when you see what the U.S. Marines. I mean, we're not talking about the police. We're not talking about the state police. We're not talking about the California National Guard. We're talking about the U.S. Marines being sent in. Is that slightly overkill? I mean, that's like the top of what we have in the country. So I do believe that, under these circumstances, it appears as if Trump has declared war on Southern Cal. But I want to ask you guys some questions because we're going to end up talking about this subject probably primarily. There's a few other things on. Obviously, Kilmark Abrego Garcia is back on U.S. soil, facing a host of charges, leading to the obvious question: why the hell wasn't he charged to begin with? And Zelensky, drones that were meant for Zelensky from the Biden administration, apparently Trump has sent those to the Middle East. We'll talk about that. But what I want to, in regards to this declaring war on the city of Los Angeles, what I want to ask you folks is, because obviously city and state officials on the ground in LA do not want the military that Trump has sent in. The mayor of Los Angeles has said it's unnecessary. Gavin Newsom, the governor of Texas, is not only saying it's not necessary, that it is an escalation. And Trump is all in this. Now, here's an actual quote from Trump, because people are throwing rocks and they're spitting at the cops and all of that. Here's President Trump, and I do believe this one is in Trump escalation fashion. If mine.
You foresee those protests spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
Yes, we're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Did you hear what he said? When they spit, we hit. Now, I know a lot of you folks are going to favor that. Just so you can hear it again, you're hearing it over, I believe, Air Force One.
At them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Now, if you're caught spitting on a cop after President Trump has said that on national TV, that's kind of your ass. I mean, keep in mind, he is the president of the United States with a hell of a lot of federal pardoning power. So if you're a federal cop and somebody spits on you, Trump has pretty much gave you the authorization to beat the hell out of them. No spit mask. You don't have to tackle them in hog time or put them in handcuffs. He pretty much just gave you authorization to beat the hell out of somebody. Just think about it. When they spit, we hit. So he pretty much just gave you the authorization to do that. This is Trump in typical Trump escalation fashion. This is why a lot of folks are saying that when Trump's on the scene, when Trump's sitting in the military, he's not necessarily sending in folks to make peace. He's escalating the situation. Certainly when you're talking like that, that doesn't sound like anything other than you down for retaliation. So I want to talk about that, obviously, and I think some of you folks may actually agree with that, but we'll talk about that as well. Now, hombres. Mexico's not sending us their best and brightest. They're sending us, rapists and murderers and all of that. Why are they constantly hovering around places that you don't generally find bad hombres? You're going and making ICE raids in restaurants where people are working. You're hanging around Home Depot gathering people up. You're going into schools and making these arrests. This is not where you find bad hombres. Where are the raids on drug houses? Where are the raids where you're waiting on the guy to get out of jail so you can put him in the hands of ICE and take him away? What's going on here, and you can certainly correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I highly doubt this one, and I'm willing to concede a point, but I don't think I'm wrong on this. Fact is, once Trump announced, and I believe by way of his border czar, Tom Homan, they're trying to get 3,000 immigration arrests per day. That's what's happening. It's not that they're trying to get rid of bad hombres. They're trying to meet that quota. I mean, obviously, Obama had a hell of a lot more deportations than Trump at this point. Trump is doing it from a competitive spirit. He's not doing it to just secure the border, to just get immigrants out of this country. He's doing it from a competitive stance. So because the quota is so high, they got to grab whoever they can get. Grandmas, babies, whoever. You need 3,000. All of them are going to go in that number. So what they're trying to do is measure up to the Trump administration's demand of 3,000 immigrants per day being arrested. Now, one other thing I want to talk about, because you see the folks rioting and protesting all over the damn place, setting cars afire. Now,
President Trump said,
hang on a second. Many would suggest that with so many folks setting cars on fire and throwing rocks and committing all kinds of crime, the point of the protest is kind of lost. Once you start committing crimes, it's almost like you hear Black Lives Matter or you hear the Colin Kaepernicks of the world. Well, you're protesting the wrong way, indicating that once you start protesting the wrong way, nobody damn about how or what you are protesting. Sounds kind of legit, but the fact is, if these folks were peacefully protesting, do you think MAGA and Trump would give a damn about what they're protesting anyway? If they were not setting cars on fire and they were just marching down the street with signs like most other American cities, Los Angeles is going apeshit right now, but there are protests in just about every major city in this country right now. Do you think the Trump administration cares about any of those peaceful protests? This is the whole notion I've often said, going away from what we're talking about now, but just period, whether it's Colin Kaepernick, whether it's Black Lives Matter, you name it. If you protest the right way, nobody's ever going to give a fuck about what you're protesting. Perfect example of a group that has historically protested, quote unquote, the right way, the abortion protesters. The abortion protesters before Roe versus Wade was rolled back. They used to protest the right way. They didn't block streets. They would stand on the sidewalk. They didn't block people from walking by. And they would hold up signs. They would read the Bible. Maybe they would hold up a picture of what it looks like, what an aborted fetus looks like or something like that. People just look the other fucking way. People just look the other way. You can stand there and do that for eternity and get zero accomplished. Protesting the right way generally does not yield anything. If you protest in a manner that people can ignore you, that's exactly what they're going to do. Which is why folks are often suggesting, well, when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, well, he shouldn't do it on the field. When I came to watch the game, what he should do is go down to a community center. Whatever you're suggesting he does, you're not going to tune into that. You're asking him to protest in a way that you can ignore it, and that's exactly what the hell you're going to do. So the only way you're going to protest, whereas people are going to listen and address your protest, is when you give them no other choice but to listen and support your protest. You have to be upfront in their face. Now, obviously, violence is not recommended, but even Martin Luther King, who was known for protesting peacefully, would still go do sit-ins in white restaurants and things like that where they didn't want black people at, and it was in their face. So now you're forced to sit down and eat next to a damn Negro when you thought that they were damn near poisonous and diseased to sit down next to. So there's no way to protest the right way without an up-in-your-face manner of doing it. And what they're doing in South Central Los Angeles is criminal. I'm not going to deny that. It's criminal. But I'm just simply saying, if you protest the right way, nobody's going to listen to it. Now, here's Christy Nome, because they got, not only do they have a problem with how they're protesting, they got a problem with the apparel they're wearing while doing it.
Masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. Who's going to enforce that, and how? And how can you justify it when law enforcement officials have their faces covered?
You know, what I would say is that the law is going to be enforced, and that what the laws are in this country is what we are doing, and our ICE officers and our law enforcement officers out there that are in these situations situations where people have questioned why they have their faces covered. It's for the safety of those individuals or the work that they're doing as far as protecting their identity so they can continue to do investigative work. So
now we'll stop it right here because Trump was the one. This Christy Noma's getting this from Trump. Trump took to social media this weekend and stated that from now on, masks will not be allowed at protests, and he even stated also that anyone caught wearing a mask should be arrested. Now, this is where we come up with the bias and why some folks may suggest that this is racist. Have you not heard about all of the hate groups from Nashville to Columbus, Ohio? Folks getting out of the back of fucking U-Haul truck. They all got on masks. They all have on masks. January 6th protesters, many of them had on masks. Yet Trump was incredibly silent about the notion that they were protesting wearing masks. Now, the argument could be made where in Southern California, they're committing crimes. No crimes were committed on January 6th. Masks when they protested on January 6th. In fact, working on a long form video of it, because I have pictures there are literally pictures all over social media of January 6th protesters wearing masks. There's one right here me in the rotunda on that day. The guy's carrying the Trump flag, and he's clearly wearing masks from head to toe. So you didn't hear Trump say one thing about people wearing masks. Good people on both sides in Charlottesville, folks are wearing masks. You see folks walking down the street with swastikas and shit and khakis. A lot of them are wearing masks. Where's Trump on any of that? But all of a sudden, suddenly, the protesters in South California. I'm having a damn Biden moment. But all of a sudden, the protesters in Southern California are wearing masks, and now he wants to outlaw and put him in jail? Why is that? That is incredibly inconvenient. We can talk about all the crimes of whatever the hell you want to talk about, but fact is, this is not the first group of protesters to wear a mask. Just seems to be the first time that he has a problem with it. Why is that? So we're going to talk about all of that. And of course, as you heard the reporter state to Christy Nome, how protesters mask when ICE is going all over the damn country arresting people wearing masks. They're not even wearing uniforms. Some of them are wearing masks and they got plain clothes on. How are you supposed to react if you're walking down the street and some dude in jeans and khakis or something, or jeans and a flannel shirt, walks up and he's trying to block your path and grab you with a mask on? ICE, customs officials, border patrol are wearing masks. But only people who cannot wear masks are the protesters, huh? That is questionable to say the least. Before we go to the calls, also real quick in the news, and you often heard about Trump talking about witch hunts and weaponized DOJ. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back on U.S. soil. You undoubtedly know the entire story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia by now, the guy who allegedly has an imprint of MS-13 on his knuckles. Anyway, he's back on U.S. soil. Pam Bondi, speaking on behalf of the Trump administration, is talking about a grand jury has found out that has stated that he should be charged, he was charged, child trafficking and trafficking of immigrants. So why the hell wasn't he charged to begin with? Why was he just sent away to a foreign country? If he has crimes in America, victims of his crimes in America, why wasn't he charged to give the victims some justice? Why was he charged with this stuff to begin with? Is there anybody that don't believe that some of these charges are trumped up just so they can make an excuse for why they did the man the way they did him? You kind of lose credibility, in my opinion. Just like we're talking about losing credibility with the protests, you kind of lose credibility when you do some unconstitutional shit, then bring the guy back and say, okay, well, let's start from the beginning. If he is as guilty as they say, they could have locked him up, gave him no bail, and had the damn trial. The whole stint in El Salvador should have never happened. Before we continue on, maybe somebody said I'm buffering on. There we go. So I shouldn't buffer on YouTube anymore. I apologize for you folks on YouTube. I didn't have the Wi-Fi on, so that should clear that up. So we're going to go straight to the box and to the calls. 8 family members in the back of the car, huh? Well, here's the problem with Johnny 11. You pull Kilmar Brego Garcia over, and he got several people in his car. It looks like he's trafficking human beings. This is in Tennessee. You can't deport the guy to El Salvador in 2025, and all of a sudden, once people start getting pissed off about the lack of due process deportation, you decide, well, something, since we got to bring him back. Remember that case a few years back when he was pulled over in Tennessee? Let's go investigate that. You don't see where it looks weaponized at all. You decide to go back and pull up the body cam. I don't know how many years back was that case in. Somebody let me know in the comments, because the whole child trafficking body cam stop where they didn't charge 2022. So you're talking 3 years back. So they're going to go back 3 years, and well, let's go back and see if we can make something out of that. You don't see any possibility of this being weaponized. They don't want to be held accountable for holding this guy without due process and be put in a situation where they may have to let him go. So they're going to try to come up with some shit. If he was guilty of child trafficking, why didn't he get charged back then? All of a sudden, you're going and finding body cam now and probably patching together some witnesses that you're maybe offering them some kind of trinket to testify against this guy. That's what it's likely going to be. If somebody's going to, just like somebody stepped up and claimed he was part of MS-13, somebody's going to step up and say, yeah, he was doing that shit, and they ain't going to tell you who it was because they don't probably pay that person off with either relieving them of their own criminal charges, give them citizenship, or a bunch of money. That's kind of what's likely happening. You let me know. So going straight to the box, and someone asked, have you actually noticed all the good that he has done more than any other president? He cares about the people. That means you. Sherry Dole, in regards to asking, have I noticed all the good that Trump has done? I would give a guy credit. I'm going to say no. No, I have not. And I would give him credit if I thought. All of the good that Trump has done is essentially stuff he has told people. I don't know of a lot of Americans that are walking around bragging about all of the good that Trump has done and how it's benefiting them. The good that Trump has done is the waste, fraud, and abuse that he's told us about that most Americans have not benefited from at all. What good has he done where people have actually benefited from? Elon Musk found billions in waste, fraud, and abuse. How did it change your life? Has it changed your life at all? Are you getting a jet? Maybe Qatar decided to be nice this Christmas to you? Are you getting anything out of it? So when you see all the good he's done, I'm willing to give him credit, but you got to show me good. Is he making huge donations to the Red Cross? Wounded warriors? Who are the people that are benefiting from all this good? Show me that, and we'll have a conversation. MAGA Reacts, good evening, welcome to the program. All the good Trump has done, MAGA, you would be the perfect person to clear this up. Now, I'm supposed to notice all the good Trump has done. Educate me.
Well, if you watched Joe Rogan with Cash Cartel, whatever his name is, Cash, the other day, he went down the list of all the things he's fixing with the FBI so they could do their job and actually pursue criminals instead of pursuing DEI, which I don't even know how you pursue DEI. Is what Biden had them doing.
Well, let me just say this before you go to the next one. All the good, you said Cash Patel stated all the things he's doing, fixing so the FBI can pursue criminals. I'm not a criminal. I'm not after a criminal. I don't know any criminals I want caught. That is not benefiting me. That's what I was telling the viewer. There's no good that I can see where he's done that's benefiting my life.
No, that benefits you indirectly. I mean, the less crime there is, the less criminals there is, the less likely you get scammed by some random guy. I work for...
Go ahead.
No, I worked for some guy who seemed like legit fucking business guy. I worked for him for 2 years. I worked my ass off, and I thought he was this big time fucking investor. Ended up being a fucking Ponzi scheme. And I wasted 2 years of my life, and the money, the little money I got as a salary, toward the end, I gave it back to him as to invest it for me. And guess what? I basically worked for free for 2 years.
Damn.
But luckily, I was young and I learned from it. And this is like before Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was like 2 years later, and that's how I found out 2 years later that it was a Ponzi scheme by seeing Madoff on the news.
But let me also...
He did the same shit my guy did.
Yeah, but let me throw this in there. Do you realize how many white collar criminals that have done stuff like you're talking about that Trump is actually pardoned? He's letting them people out.
Well, hopefully, I don't know.
Take your time. Take your time.
Pardoning, that's after somebody's actually been caught and prosecuted. So at least there was some justice there. And then if you decide to give them mercy afterwards, that's better than not getting any justice.
Well, some of these people never even went to jail for any significant period of time. He pardoned them before they really even went in. So we can give him credit for what he's doing to allow the FBI to do their work. But what about the folks that have been victimized by all the people he's letting out? I mean, he's let out some pretty bad guys. I mean, what about their victims?
You gotta give me some examples because I don't know what you're talking about. To be honest with you.
Well, shit, the ones that testified at the January 6th hearings, the Capitol police officers are claiming they're victims of people he pardoned.
Okay, but we're talking about Ponzi schemers, like white collar criminals. These weren't white collar.
Okay, the reality TV stars. I don't know their name, but he just pardoned 2 reality TV stars that were involved in.
I don't think they had any victims. They just.
You cannot commit financial fraud with no victims. How do you do that?
I thought it was like tax fraud or some shit like that.
Okay,
you'd be surprised how easily you get that crime charged to you. That could mean anything. Like I don't know the details of the case. It could mean a million things.
Well, I would invite you to look that up because they committed financial fraud and they did have victims. By the way, if you commit white collar financial fraud, it's almost impossible to do that without any victims. Like you mentioned tax fraud. If you cheat your taxes, that money has to be recouped from us. If you cheat the tax system out of millions of dollars, they're going to get that money. That's millions of dollars in federal tax money they should have had that they didn't get from you because you cheated them. That money's going to be given from us. They're going to get it from someone else. You just answered
your own point right there. You're saying, catching tax frauds indirectly benefits me. The same way I'm telling you the same thing. So you just made my point for me.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll concede that. It does indirectly benefit me, but I mean, that ain't something unique to President Trump. I mean, tax cheats have been caught under every administration.
After Biden and fucking what they've been doing in California, it kind of is. California, people starting to riot, and they're saying no to help. And the funny part is that they're gaslighting us, and you should stop gaslighting like them, saying that the National Guard is the reason for the escalation. Every one of those fucking videos is LAPD fucking rolling over those people and shooting them with rubber bullets. Every video I've seen of this protest or riot or whatever, it's all LAPD.
Yeah, well, you do understand.
They're not even there yet.
You do understand that the people there, law enforcement is law enforcement. A government officer with a rifle, doesn't matter if he's in military fatigue or he's in an LAPD uniform. To them, all of that is authority. They can all arrest you. So they're not going to make any distinction between the LAPD and the military.
I'm talking about the media and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom knows better. He's fucking painting the National Guard as these like big monsters. But, then like a tweet later is saying, only 300 of them have been deployed out of the 2,000. So who the fuck is causing all this problem? And if you watch the videos, it's all LAPD. Even like ICE at the beginning, like they backed up and LAPD jumped in front. I mean, LAPD are in complete control of the Democrats. Like they control LAPD. I don't care what they say or how people. I know people are stupid and they'll think it's all the same shit, but a lot of us know better. The LAPD and the National Guard and even ICE are completely different from each other. And
if you're a citizen on the street, if you're a protester on the street, all 3 of those groups, ICE, the LAPD, and the military, they all can detain and arrest you. A cop is a cop at that point. They're not going to see the difference you're talking about.
I mean, but I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking about fucking Gavin Newsom and the people in the media putting everything on Trump when Trump has just given them it's funny, like not even a week ago, we're debating if Trump offered National Guard to DC for January 6th. And in that situation, he offered, they said no. And then he got fucking kicked in the face for it. And this time he's like, he offers. They said no. He's like, I'm not gonna fall for that trick twice.
No, wait a minute. On January 6th, Trump made it sound like he could not deploy the National Guard. The only person that could do that was Nancy Pelosi. And it's pretty clear now that that was a fucking lie. I mean, he's not only deployed the National Guard, he's deploying the actual active duty Marines. So he clearly had the power to do a lot more than he did on January 6th.
Again, now you're gaslighting yourself. There's a difference between like normal shit and emergency powers. Right now, Trump is using emergency powers to do what he's doing.
You're telling me he couldn't use them on January 6th?
Especially before January 6th. Like, this was, first of all, we're talking about January 5, the day before. We didn't know there was going to be a riot.
Hold on. There was 4 hours. Hang on. There was 4 hours where this stuff was going on, and Trump didn't deploy any damn body. You're telling me he couldn't do anything for them 4 hours?
Automatically deployed. At the second, if you actually look at the timeline, the National Guard were automatically requested from the first minute before even Trump got back to the bunker or whatever the hell they put him. They were already requested. Trump didn't have to do shit. They were already on their way.
This is not what you're saying is not true. That's just simply not true.
That's not what the media tells you. But if you look at the actual timeline, the Department of Defense, I think whoever's in charge of the Department of Defense requested National Guard like at the beginning of this.
Even President Trump has never stated whatsoever that he deployed the National Guard or that they were deployed automatically. He hasn't even said nothing like that. Where are you getting that from?
He didn't deploy them. They were deployed automatically. How did they show up then?
Since
Somebody called for them.
when the hell is the National Guard deployed automatically? Where does that happen at? Somebody has to do it.
The president rarely needs to request them. They're requested by the governor or the mayor of the city when it comes to D.C. So it was on her to request them. And as far as I know, they were authorized right away before even Trump made it back to the building.
What you're saying makes no sense. You're going to send in the military to oversee California because that's getting out of hand. But your own event.
Black hole here. We don't even. This doesn't matter to this conversation. For this conversation, there's a difference between offering National Guard beforehand and having the emergency power. Like, he's using emergency powers to deploy them right now. He's Newsom said he doesn't want them. Trump's using emergency power to deploy them after the fact.
Here's what makes no sense at all. You got thousands of people coming to Washington. They're angry because you don't tell them the election is stolen. Why are you offering? I mean, you should know while an inauguration is taking place 2 miles later that people should be there present. What do you mean you offer to it? This is your event. You're the president. Offering it to who?
Offering it to D.C., to Pelosi and to the mayor of D.C., Bowser. She literally has, if you go to her Twitter, she has a letter where she says, I don't want any help from the federal government. On January 5th, she posted that letter to her Twitter. I found it the other day.
That ain't got nothing to do. But
that means Trump offered her federal help.
That ain't what I'm talking about. MAGA, that ain't what I'm talking about. Trump's event, his original protest, was a couple miles away from what Nancy Pelosi and those folks are doing in the Capitol building. Why don't you have security at your own damn event?
Because the mayor said she didn't need it.
How does the mayor know?
She has a letter on her Twitter on January 5th that she posted to her Twitter January 5th, the day before, saying that she doesn't need any help from the federal government.
So Trump left security of his own event to a damn mayor?
Well, he left it to the Capitol Police and the DC Police, so he assumed they had it under control if they didn't need any help. And up to that point, up to January 5th, the MAGA and the right weren't known to be violent.
And then when this all went south, he was not around for 4 hours. How do you explain that?
I mean, as far as I know, they were requested right away. And then he's moving around and trying to assess the situation himself.
You ain't providing security.
About it in hindsight, we know what happened. At the time, he didn't know what was going on.
You ain't providing security. You ain't doing shit. What do you mean assess the situation? You don't left security up to somebody else. You're not doing anything. What do you mean assess the situation?
No, as president and as leader of the protest, not the riot, he had to assess what was going on before he did anything, said anything.
Okay.
That's the smart thing to do. You don't just jump to action.
And then once you assess the situation, then what did he do?
Then he sent out a fucking tweet telling everybody to go home. How do we always end up in this fucking January 6th hole? We're talking about
It
LA
took you
right now.
4 hours of watching people destroy the Capitol building. All you could respond was with a tweet.
1 hour of it was him still giving his speech. You figure another half hour to an hour getting back to safety, and then like another hour back in the bunker assessing the situation. Meanwhile, the National Guard were deployed right away. They were approved
None of that is true. The January 6th
Google
hearings
it.
committee.
You don't have to take my word for it.
I
Just
watched
Google
the
it.
January 6th hearings committee. Even like I said, even Trump and his administration helped Fox News. Fox News has
They're
never
not
came out and said
magic.
the National Guard was automatically deployed. You're the first person I've ever heard say something
Okay.
like that.
They're not magic. They don't teleport to the scene. It takes a while to deploy them. So they were authorized right away. Obviously, it took them a few hours to get there.
Okay.
But by the time they got there, everybody was at work on their own. I don't even think the National Guard did anything. Everybody just went home.
Yeah, 4 hours as you say, 4 hours as you say to assess the situation, and then after all of that,
They've only deployed 300 National Guards to LA.
after all of that, he just sends out a tweet.
Am I right? Like Gavin Newsom just tweeted that only 300 of the 2,000 have been deployed, and Trump's authorizing another 2,000.
Oh.
Meaning that it took him 2 days and only 300 deployed. So I don't know what you were expecting on January 6th.
Well, the problem is Trump is incredibly aggressive on these protests. He didn't even give a damn about the people wearing masks at his own protest. Now all of a sudden he wants everybody to take their mask off. He's threatening to arrest them. What's the difference?
I don't know. Maybe because it's the middle of summer instead of a cold D.C. winter in January. Isn't it cold in D.C. in January? I live in fucking Miami. It's not all year. I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
Seasons work in the rest of the country.
Okay. Showed up to us.
I'm pushing it. I'm pro-mask because, as you can see, I'm even like in a way I'm masked up on here. I'm not showing my face or my name, so I'm pro people wearing masks to protest, which I do in my own way on here.
So why is Trump calling for people in masks to be arrested?
I don't know, because he wants to catch these people. That's his own point. I don't know. Okay. That's his own.
Maybe he wants to. Maybe he wants to identify them and pardon them later on, like he did his own people. How about that?
Yes.
You think that might be the case?
And as far as ICE being masks, even though like they're masked and we don't know who they are, if they do commit a crime, we could ID them by knowing what ICE agent assigned to that particular thing that we can always figure out who they are. The government. Their bosses could always figure out who they are, even if they're masks.
Because here's the problem. If we do what you're suggesting, let's imagine George Floyd, them 4 officers that sat on George Floyd. If they all had masks on, now we're depending on the police department to identify these folks or any of that, as opposed to the citizens having cameras where they can film it their damn self. Now we got to depend on the police to do work, and we know historically police don't do a good job policing themselves.
We always depend on the police to do work. In the end, that guy was charged by that cop, whatever his name, I can't think of his name right now. He was charged with murder because the police did their job and they fucking charged him with murder. If you were masked up, what was that going to protect if you had a mask on? The cop could still ID him.
You really believe in controversial cases the police are dependable to police themselves?
I mean, with enough political pressure, yes, of course.
Okay, all right. I mean, I guess you never heard of Rodney King.
Don't care more about staying in power than a fucking cop's job or justice.
I guess you never heard of Rodney King. I guess you don't realize that it took 4.
That's a different era. You need to come back. You need to come to 2025.
It took 4 days of burning cities before they charged Derek Chauvin. 4 days. He was on TV doing that. It took 4 days to get them to charge him.
And for me, that means they acted quickly, because usually a police investigation takes way longer than that. And that's what happened with Garcia. I mean, Garcia... No, that's not what happened.
He's on video, MAGA reacts. He's on video sitting on the guy. You think 4 days is quickly to a video like that?
Yeah. I mean, you got to get all the facts. You have to Look at all the police video.
Are you actually laughing when you saying this shit? Do you believe this shit?
No, I'm not laughing about this. I'm just trying to think here. Yeah, it should have taken way more than 4 days. They had to interview all the cops there. They had to interview the people in charge. They had to interview the people, the guy the convenience store guy. I mean, I don't think we even had all the facts in 4 days. All we had was that video.
All we had is that video. I gotta go back. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. Will G says Trump ain't shit. Says MAGA ain't shit. Good evening, Will G. They said all we had is that video. God. You know, we had to question. All we had is a video of him killing it, yeah, but we had to make sure we get our facts straight. All we had is that video. You are giving him too much tabs. Look, MAGA Reacts, I enjoy talking to MAGA. He's a friend of the program. Yes, he voted for Trump. He's a Trump supporter. But, you know, we don't block, ban, or censor. We don't limit the time of folks who may have a different opinion. But I can see a hell of a lot of comments are coming in like, get rid of him, get rid of him. He's allowed to speak. He's allowed to speak uncensored. Caller is an idiot if he thinks the cops aren't corrupt and I'm a conservative, says Dion Eberts. Yeah, I you know, you're going to let the police themselves. The cops can wear masks. So if you go down there and report it, you can depend on the cops going through their files and figuring out who was on the beat in that neighborhood and actually coming to and actually doing the detective work to find out who you're talking about. He believes that, huh? Wow. Dude is mad annoying, says J Aviation. Okay, before we go to the next caller, by the way, tap the screen, get the likes on up to 20,000, if you will. There will be a point when the phrase "shut the fuck up, no one cares what you think, didn't you vote for Trump" will be commonplace. Wow. Hopefully not. If you wonder why Trump derangement syndrome or why people don't like Trump or any politician that takes on the moniker of "shut the fuck up, nobody cares what you think," or even "fuck your feelings" for that matter. Fuck your feelings is another one. As a politician, your job is to sell yourself to your constituency. If you're telling your voters "fuck your feelings," or at least some of them, yeah, you guaranteed you're going to get no support from those voters. I mean, that's a phrase that no politician should ever adopt. Fuck your feelings. I don't care. Anyway, going back to the box, you mean Trump defense syndrome. Going back to the box, we'll go to the one and only Mike. Good evening, Mike. Imagine somebody comes to your house, you ask them to leave, and they start rioting. Yeah? I mean, but the problem is everybody rioting in California is not an illegal immigrant. There's a lot of American citizens among those crowds. Mike, good evening.
Man, these motherfuckers, and these anecdotal. Imagine somebody comes to your house, you ask them to leave, they start rioting. What did it have to do with any fucking thing? Nothing, because that wasn't the scenario at all.
Not to mention, we could always ask the Native Americans about that same question. I guess they wouldn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to talk about that. So good Lord, you started with some bullshit.
What did I do wrong today?
No, not you. First of all, MAGA Reacts, Cedric, whoever, the president is responsible for the National Guard in Washington, D.C. It's the only state in the union where he's responsible for the National Guard. It's the only one. So if anybody was going to deploy the National Guard on January 6th, it was Trump. It had nothing to do with anybody else. It's a simple civics lesson, and you can Google that shit. Right? Period.
Yeah. You know, I actually had somebody on the program during that era. I believe they ended up calling one of the centers or recruitment centers in DC, and somebody answered, some military and actually admitted it was his job to do it. Somebody during the program, somebody called in and somebody at one of the offices in DC admitted, yeah, it was his job to do it.
Yeah, period. It's period. It's not even a question. So for MAGA Reacts to get up here as if he's speaking facts, that's why he loves Trump, because they always shit on themselves. He comes up here and shits on himself. Donald Trump sits on himself because he's not making sense. He's not making sense at all. January 6th was what it was. Can we go to Garcia real quick?
Real quick, what you got?
Can Can we switch to Garcia and this bullshit human trafficking charge? Can we talk about this real quick?
I believe it's trumped up. Because like I said, I mean, you're going to go back 3 years to what amounts to nothing more than a body cam traffic stop and try to make a whole case out of that because on video he had a few extra seats in his car, and you're going to use that to develop a whole case in 2025. Unless this guy's dealing with a public defender, he gonna probably lose that case.
And listen, Okay, so I read the indictment.
Okay.
You know, which was full of bullshit. It was all hearsay. It was and then so what's her name? Dummy, the press secretary. What's her?
Pam Bondi.
No, the press secretary.
Oh, the 27-year-old. I can't think what is it? Christine Leave It or whatever her name is.
Yeah. Her dumb ass gets up there and talks about you guys got to watch their words, and in the indictment, they are linking him to this international human ring.
Well, they linked him to MS-13 like that.
Yes, international, but he's the only one identified and charged. How about that, Tim? Yeah. He's the only one identified and charged, and the federal prosecutor, the chief federal prosecutor in Tennessee, just resigned.
Yeah, I heard about that over this case. I heard about
over this case. So why would you give up a 15-year career, 15 years in this position? You resign over this case.
You know what? I don't understand, Mike. Okay, Albrego Garcia is a deportation candidate. He is a legitimate deportation. But trying to make it so he goes to prison is the problem. He don't have a right to be in this country. Trump is a supposed this world-class negotiator. You can't find where is he from? Is he from Venezuela?
I think El Salvador?
No, he ain't from El Salvador. I think he's from Venezuela. He ain't from El Salvador.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, make a fucking deal because he actually has met with the president of Venezuela. Trump met with the guy. Make some kind of fucking deal that this guy got to get taken back. Or find another country, whatever. You can deport the guy. You don't have enough on him to put him in a maximum security prison, which is what Trump is trying to be cruel to the guy. He's okay to deport, but he don't belong in prison. You don't have nothing on him for that.
And so you extradite him back here. Think about this bullshit. You extradite him back here on some bullshit charges. Have you ever seen do you think that it takes too much to unravel an international trafficking ring? Do you think it only takes 2 months? By the way, the investigation didn't start till April.
Yeah, they're going to have some kind of bullshit eyewitness testimony that's going to, basically testify, probably under immunity, might even be under anonymity, that this guy was doing all this stuff. That's what they're going to find somebody to say what they need to have said, and they're going to try to run with that.
Right? You mean like the first time? When they had somebody say he was MS-13 in the court docs, and
exactly like that. Exactly
100%.
Yeah,
100%. It won't be too hard to find a Hispanic immigrant that wants to say so bad they'll say anything. Yeah. If that means he goes, it's not going to be difficult. Yeah. However, they're going to have to substantiate it just like they didn't do the first time.
Yeah. I'm okay with deporting the guy. I mean, he didn't have a legal right to be here. But all of this, trying to make this guy out to be some kind of super felon is just bullshit. I see in the comments, Fred Hinkle said he got a 14-year-old girl pregnant or whatever. Hell, so did Thomas Jefferson. I don't get what your point is.
They be making up. They just be, hey, listen, Tim, it's so funny. Whoever that was, I can guarantee you didn't say that, know that, or understand that before this man got deported. Matter of fact, this shit's just coming up now. So stop it.
Yeah.
This is the lengths that people will go to be right or continue their racism and bigotry. This is the length that they will go to.
This is exactly the definition of dirtying somebody up. Like when you get some of these folks that are, murdered in a controversial police shooting. Then they go let's find something to make this person out to be a bad guy so nobody gives a damn about him. That's what they're doing with this guy. They're trying to find stuff to dirty him up. Now, I'm not saying he may be a bad guy. He may turn out that he is a bad guy, but as you just rightfully pointed out, none of this stuff was known. You deported this guy. and you didn't give a shit about the guy. And now that it's turning out you did the wrong thing by deporting him without due process, you're scrambling to find whatever you can to make him look like a bad guy. And you didn't have all of that to begin with. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had to deport him without due process. You would have had a legitimate case against him, and you could have did it the right way.
And no one would have said anything.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. When's the last time we've had a high-profile case like this where someone that was black or brown or a woman that wasn't demonized along the way? Name me one. They were all demonized at some point. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. You can go all the
Trayvon Martin.
You can go. Every last one of them was demonized along the way. This is what they do. Conversely, when they're of lighter hue, there's excuses for all of them. Rittenhouse and Derek Chauvin and Martin Zimmerman, all the players.
But I gotta say, in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, who I do believe had to act in self-defense, the liberals tried to dirty him up. I mean, the liberals were looking for whatever they could find on him to dirty him up as well, because they wanted his ass locked up as well. So, I mean, it does work in reverse.
But it was about him even being there.
Yeah, he was wrong to put himself in the middle of that situation, but that don't mean he should get a double murder charge as a result.
No. Well, here's the thing, Tim. Again, even the fact that we're having this conversation, it's not equal. Let's just say it's just not equal. If that was your son, you would have whooped your son's ass and he should have been home. And even if he would have went home and you would have found out about it later, you would have said, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying now. You'd be like, what the fuck were you doing there anyway?
His mom actually took him to the
Exactly,
protest.
Tim.
Yeah.
Exactly, Tim. Would you have taken your son?
No. I don't think think most MAGA would have taken a son with an AR to the middle of a violent protest like that. I mean, certainly in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, he was as green as money. I mean, he just got fucking lucky that day. It ain't like he was a sharpshooter or some ex-military commando. He just got lucky. He was walking around without his partner, so he was on his own. I mean, the guy he shot with the pistol, that guy could have popped him at any time. He just got fucking lucky. That's all that was.
He did. And here's the thing, Tim. Here's the thing. And we're getting all the way back around to LA. But it's getting tiresome when you hear people continue to make excuses for what's going on here in California. Trump knew what he was going to do. Listen, think about this. It's not like we're a fan of LAPD. I mean, let's keep it.
No shit.
LAPD
Go all the way back to Daryl Gates. Yeah, LAPD.
You're right.
Yeah.
But if LAPD is saying, we got this. If LAPD is, we got this. The reason MAGA reacts, there was only 300 deployed because they're standing around doing nothing. MAGA reacts because they have nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm being told. Yeah, I'm hearing stories that suggest this is not as widespread as Trump. I mean, it's only a few blocks or so. They're saying this is not like there are riots all over Southern Cal. There's only a few blocks of this shit taking place, and you're sending hundreds of officers and military into this. It's overkill. That's probably exactly what's happening. They're standing around with nothing to do.
Yes, 100% they are. But when you get people like MAGA reacts not understanding what's going on, and you just conflate everything, just like you did about the rain and the fires and shit, all the bullshit. This is what happens because the Posse Comitatus Act, which he's violating right now, because Gavin didn't call for it. Do you realize that this is the first time since Nixon where the president overstepped?
I thought it was 60 years. I thought it was the Martin Luther King era, though.
It's 60. It was during what was the protest on the college campus. What I
don't know
which one. It's escaping my mind right now.
Okay.
It was. You remember when they came in and they ended up pew-pewing some students? What was the college? It's escaping me right now. But that was the last time.
Wow.
That was the last time until now. Nixon.
Yeah.
Trump.
Berkeley, somebody
says. No, it wasn't Berkeley. It was another college. But anyway,
this is not, in my opinion. I think Trump is just trying to be heavy-handed for the sake of who he is. This is not serious enough for him to be sending this kind of folks out there. I mean, not yet, at least. Maybe it'll get that way, but right now, what's going on out there? I'm with you. They have enough in the area. They could call from neighboring cities. They have enough in the area to handle this. It is not as, in fact, I think what Trump did is drawing more people to the scene and actually making it prolonged by doing that.
Well, yes. And here's the thing. Here's the part that disturbs me about all of this. People saying riots and they're doing. What is your limit if you believe that your family is being pulled apart unjustly? What are you expecting people to do? Tim, would you just let somebody come to walk in your house and because they're telling you, your daughter or your wife, they need to come, you're just supposed to sit by and protest peacefully or quietly? I mean, what are you asking people to do?
I mean, I'm kind of torn on. I mean, the fact is, I forgot what percentage of the LA population or the Southern California population is illegal immigrants, but they do. That is the #1 state for illegal immigration. So, I mean,
understand.
If they're going into a house full of American citizens and doing that, yeah, you have every right to defend your castle, stand your ground, pop a few agents, whatever the case may be. But if your cousin is here illegally and they coming to get your cousin, you can put up a fight, but you knew your cousin wasn't supposed to be here. So it depends on. Go ahead.
Well, that's not what's going on here. Listen, how are they identifying illegal on the street randomly, Tim? They got warrants. No. They got pictures.
They're profiling and doing fishing expeditions, like outside of Home Depot.
So, okay. So let's not start from a place of that. They're approaching this from a position of integrity and character. They're profiling. That's the first problem, right? Yeah. And now that goes to the immunity that you've been talking about before the election. So if they're going to profile, that's like them walking in a restaurant. Would you be okay with that? So that you look like somebody. That's what's happening. And so you're supposed to just sit there and take it. People are totally excusing this behavior. And every Trump supporter, well, they keep saying criminals and illegals, but he got them to believe exactly what he was trying to get them to believe. Because you don't hear you don't hear some no more. They're just doing it. And nobody gives a fuck. Yeah. Nobody cares.
I'll concede your argument that they are indeed going in locations where brown people are at and demanding folks show proof of citizenship and things like that. And that is unconstitutional. No different than if somebody pulled you over and made you prove that you are a citizen of this country. I mean, but it's happening to brown people. So the other folks don't seem to care about it. The black and white people don't care about it because it's not happening to them. There are some blacks that care about it, but among the white crowd, it ain't gonna happen to me. Right. So it is what it is. I gotta move it on. I'll give you the last word.
Exactly. Give me the last word on this too. We have to. There's 280 people here. Please, we got to tap the screen, share the live. Tim should be up at 50,000 by now.
Good shit.
First of all,
thank you.
Number one. But here's my last comment. People, instead of throwing fuel on this fire, if you don't know the detail, do some research. Use your common sense. This will be the first time in the history of this country where the mayor and the governor of said state and the chief of police for the LAPD are saying we don't need this, and yet and still
they did it anyway.
He's breaking the constitutional law to do this, but he's just trying it out to see how far he can take this.
Well, and my guess is he's going to keep taking it as far as he can take it. If it happens in other cities, he'll do it there too. Thanks, Mike.
All right, bro.
All right, moving on with the program. By the way, I do want to address the super chat. Supercell Fusion says Trump ain't shit. Says MAGA Reacts doesn't know what he's talking about, which is what Mike and I said too in regards to what he was saying about sending. Mike, wait a minute, he got a lot in here. He says MAGA Reacts doesn't know what he's talking about. Send gangster grandma after him and Hannibal Lecter. And Tim, how's your coat? Hanging in here. I'm about 85%. Still got a little cough, as you can tell. Thank you, Supercell, by the way. Still got a little bit of cough. Says, tell Super Mike, great conversation. Always a pleasure hearing you, Mike. This is coming from Supercell Fusion. Says, you come out of the box just like Michael Myers. Damn, like a horror flick. Love it when you're on 10,020 points. Thank you, Supercell. You will submit to Trump, says Patriot. What does that mean, by the way, Patriot? You will submit to Trump. That kind of falls under the whole mindset of who's your daddy. He's not. This is what I don't think folks realize. As in a country like this, with a democracy or republic, whatever you want to call it, our politicians are supposed to work for us. We don't work for them. When you start talking about shit like you're going to submit to the president, he's supposed to do what is the will of the people. Now, it doesn't supposed to work vice versa. This is why some folks are starting to suggest that you guys are in a cult when you say shit like that, because that's what a cultist would say. The president is supposed to do what makes you happy, not vice versa. You got that shit kind of backwards, man. California has the most homeless. Well, Larry Forway, the reason California has, I'm speculating here, but the reason California has the most homeless is probably twofold. One, obviously being the weather. I mean, it's you can pretty much camp out year round in California. Number two being they are somewhat homeless. They are somewhat friendly and accepting to the homeless. There's a lot of cities where they would just tell them folks, either you get your homeless ass off the street or I'm going to throw you in jail. I'm not going to do a damn thing for you during your period of despair. I just don't want to see your ass on the street tomorrow. You find somewhere to go, you better find some family, you better find a church, whatever. If I see your ass again, I'm going to arrest you. That's how a lot of states do it. So it ain't like these other areas don't have a huge homeless problem. They just don't give a fuck about them. California's a little bit different. They understand the situation. It doesn't look good, but they're willing to kind of let them exist. Looking in the comments though, you're mad he didn't act fast and harsh January 6th. Okay, Ed G, you says you're mad he didn't act fast and harsh. January 6th insurrection, you're mad he's trying to stop the insurrection. You guys are programmed to say he is always wrong. Well, if you don't think Trump was wrong on January 6th, I think you're the one that's misprogrammed. If you think January 6th, 4 years later, you still don't see no problems with it, but you think the liberals were programmed to think he's wrong, he was fucking wrong on that. Now, in regards to California, he's sending folks to, I suppose, make the peace, squelch the rioting. I don't want to say Trump could be right in this, but at the same time, he could be wrong in this. Is he fighting to bring peace, or is he fighting for domination? I think in Trump's case, one of the problems is even when he's right, the shit he says is often wrong. Even when he does something right, bad shit comes out of his mouth. I mean, whether it's stopping wars or anything like that. Anytime you see him on TV doing something that he claims is right by America, in the process of doing that, he's bashing somebody. That is why, where does Trump derangement come from? Well, it's because he's always insulting people. Look, the guy could literally cure cancer and make people hate him. He would be curing cancer. Well, if it left up to the liberals, y'all would be dead. But it's because of me, you now have a cure. Biden would have never. It's that type of shit. It ain't necessary. So when you wonder why people constantly criticize him, it's that he was on TV today criticizing Biden. He was anytime you put a microphone in front of that man's hands, he's going to criticize some liberal out there. Even when he was trying to sell Teslas for Elon, he got into Tesla, and the first thing he said, I bet you Biden couldn't do that. What the fuck does Biden got to do with you selling Teslas on the White House lawn? Talk about derangement syndrome. Remember that. Let me go to the next comment. He uses the word Americans as an excuse. Okay. All he has to do is pull out ICE from LA for now. But that means he looks like he lost or he's surrendering. Remember what one of the viewers said, you're going to submit to Trump? That's what they want. They want Trump to win. Doesn't matter how he does it. Winning, ugly, you name it. Going back to the box, the one and only Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, Gangsta. Tamar is the one King Kong ain't got shit on her. She putting cases on all, I like it, on all you motherfuckers. Gangsta, good evening.
Oh, stop it, kid. Stop it already. You are the biggest fluffer ever.
I ain't fluffed at all tonight.
You don't even have balls to go against your little maggot ass friend, his rotten ass. His little racist.
Wait, hold on.
Why don't you add me up here with him so I can go off on his little $2 ass?
How many ways can I tell a man he's wrong? You telling me I ain't pushing back? I told him he is wrong constantly.
What the fuck? Really, Pop? When do you ever push back hardcore? I got more balls than you do. You let that you let that uncooked, unseasoned ass meat, that trailer trash, out here talking about other riots. For one, bitch, there isn't no riots, okay? Because my black ass is down here in LA, okay? And there's only a couple of blocks. And yes, our asses are down here, and we are protesting. Because I'll be damned, they're going to come up in my house and taking my peoples away.
You're
fucked up.
You're in Southern Cal? I didn't know that.
No shit, Sherlock. I've been said that.
I didn't know that. Okay. All right. So what does it look like there?
It's fine. What are you talking about, Willis? We're just out here protesting. You know what the little maggots are bitching about now? Oh, you're flying
the Mexican flag.
What you call it, flag? The Mexican flag, and they're proud to be Mexicans. Let me tell you something, okay? I am Afro-Latina, okay? I got Mexican blood in me and I have Dominican blood in me. And you know what? I am so sick of these mofos coming after the Mexicans and stuff. You feel what I'm saying?
But hold on. Is that not a legitimate gripe? You're in America. Why the hell are you waving around the Mexican flag on U.S. soil?
So why is Trump doing it?
What?
Why are the MAGAs flying the Confederate flag and shit? Why are they doing what is it called? The Trump flags. What?
Well, but that's not the flag of another country, though, against the grandma.
It doesn't matter. This is the United States. We could. There's Italian flags people be flying. There's what is it called? Israel flags that be flying.
Yeah.
What? There is. There's a lot of people. It's because we can do that because it's the United States. Okay? Now, if my fucking fat ass was going to do my Dominican flag, my Mexican flag, and my African flag, I'll do it. And what the fuck white man going to tell me? Huh? Nah, goddamn things. I'll roast their asses. What the fuck? And you like the unseasoned ass meat up on this thing. You know what? That little motherfucker is racist as hell. Oh, he's my homie. He's my friend. Yeah, he'll hang your ass too.
What did he say? Hold on. Me and MAGA React talked for damn near 15 minutes. What the hell did he say that was racist? He didn't say anything racist.
He told you before on the other line, because I roasted his ass there too with his unseasoned cooked ass. Let me tell you, he told you if he was racist, I'll still vote for him. A racist will only say that.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Okay, so you think, let me tell you something. If somebody told me to fuck shit like that, I wouldn't vote for him. I would not. I would not vote for him because he's a racist.
Well, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you.
For him. Why? He's a racist.
Let me explain to you why I'm saying that. If you had a...
Oh, yeah. Let's fluff. Come on. Okay. Let's fluff.
Okay, hear me out. If you had a commander-in-chief that was racist towards one group of people, and you were not that group, and you felt that they could give you a good economy and do a bunch of good things that would make your life better, there's a whole lot of people under that situation will still vote for that person. Racism is not going to turn everybody away if they don't feel like it's affecting them.
You know what, Tim? I swear to God. You know, racist. They are racist. You vote for, you know he's a racist. You vote for him, you're a racist. There ain't no sugarcoating this shit. See, that's what me and you be clashing. We'll always be clashing. We're on the same fucking side. They're racist. There ain't no buts, no ass, no fluffing about it. They're racist.
I don't buy into every...
I bet you don't, but I bet you don't. Because Sugar Plum Honey Bun, they are your little homeboys, huh? But they'll hang you on a fucking tree, though.
Well, I don't buy into the notion that everybody that voted for Trump is a racist. I just don't believe that.
You walk like a fucking duck. You talk like a fucking duck. You a duck.
What about the...
You believe in everything that motherfucker is saying, and you're still walking with him. You are.
Let me ask you to you.
Hold up. Mag, you little maggot ass twit, don't ever tell me that I'm not fucking black, bitch. My daddy and my mama is Dominican and Mexican and Dominican full-blooded, bitch. And they black skin. So what the fuck does that mean?
Okay.
I'm not pale, bitch. I don't burn in the sun.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
With your lobster ass.
Oh God. Jesus. Let me ask it to you this way. if you were evangelical, you're pro-life, you don't believe in killing the hold on. You gotta let me ask this though. If you were evangelical, you were pro-life, you did not under no circumstance ever want to support taking the life of an unborn child, and you got to vote between Trump and Kamala, what do you do?
I would vote. I'll still vote. I'll still vote blue. Because you don't have to vote. Let me tell you something. You don't have to vote for somebody that's a racist just because you're pro-life. And then I ain't a fucking pro-life. Because you know why? If they was pro-life, they wouldn't be taking the fucking women's rights away. Pro-life means that you would be helping the women, not taking from the fucking women, not taking the damn welfare benefits like the food stamps and shit, the Medicaid, to take care of the fucking loved one, the babies and shit. Forced birth, that's what it fucking is. Get me the fuck out of here about being pro-fucking life.
I'm just telling you.
Pro-fucking life. The only reason why they're going fucking ham on this shit, because the white man loves a chocolate dang-a-lang. And the women love it. They like it more than the white man. Who wouldn't? Who would? They can't hit the damn G spot with the uncooked ass meat.
You know you can't group every white person up in one category, right?
What the fuck? They grouping us black asses. They're over here telling us that we ain't shit with nothing. They're telling us that. They're telling us that we need to go back to Africa. They're telling the Mexicans that they need to go. That they're not from here, and they are. They're indigenous. They're not even Latinos. They're indigenous. But people don't even know that 80% of them are natives. Yes.
Let me ask you.
We just like to clump all of our asses. But when I fired the fuck back, and putting a white man in their place, oh no. Get the fuck out of here.
What about the law, Gangsta Grandma? If a person is in this country illegally or undocumented, does the president not have a right to tell them they gotta go?
So let me tell you something. That little motherfucking racist piece of shit said he was only going to go after what? The criminals, right? Why don't he go after the white man? Because they're the most criminal ones that is. They're putting up our schools. They're going to our churches. They're going to the synagogues. They're the ones that's doing the most. Not the undocumented. There's proven, there's studies that show it. They don't hurt the people. They are afraid of us.
Well, you know they're
afraid to do it.
You know they're going to bring up that there's a whole lot of pew-pewing going on in urban neighborhoods all over this country, right?
Oh, give me a fucking break. There ain't no such thing as black on black crime. Then let's do the white on white crime. Let's do the Mexican on Mexican crime. Let's do it. Because it's called, if you're in the hood, a black hood, then the victim is going to be black. Now, if you go to the white hood, as they say, AKA, it's going to be the white one.
I want you to... So
there isn't no such thing, so give it a fucking break.
How about this one? In the comments, responding to what you and I are saying, Sean the Greatest says, in my experience, there are just as many racist people of color. What say you?
Well, actually, we could be prejudiced. Can't be racist. We don't have the power. Actually. But we could be prejudiced. I said... Did you hear what I said? Don't what me, Tim. Do not what me. I said what the fuck I said.
You're trying to tell me people of color cannot be racist? Really?
Well, technically, because they don't have the power.
Yeah, you do.
Like the white man has the power. We really don't have the power.
That's not true.
We could be prejudiced. Yeah. Well, where's the black man have the power at?
Maybe.
Where's the black man have the power at? Where do they have the power at?
I'm trying to respond. I used to be a landlord. I could choose who I wanted to rent to. I had power.
That's not that. I'm not talking about that kind of power, Tim.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about oh my God, whatever, Tim. I don't know. Honestly, I think they could be prejudiced. I don't think they could be full-blown racist. I don't know.
Anybody can be racist. Anybody can be racist.
Well, if they could, right?
Yeah, I mean.
But still, the white man's doing the most right now, right?
Well,
they're kicking out people. You know what? They're over here saying, you know what's funny about all this shit, though? When he says he's kicking out only the criminals and the worst of the worst, then why are he going up to the jobs and stuff and kicking and getting them out? Why is he pulling kids and putting them in, handcuffing kids and stuff? Is kids criminals now?
Yeah, I have an explanation for that. I'll say it.
I bet you do. I bet you do, Fluffy.
No, this ain't fluffing. To answer your question It revolves around replacement theory. Fact is, they believe brown people, people of color, black folks are replacing the white man. So they
That's
want them
right.
all
Yeah,
gone.
hallelujah. You're finally snapping. And you know why? Because the mixed people and everybody's coming. The white women love the chocolate dangling. That's right. Yes. And they're having mixed kids. They don't want the full-blooded white tea kids. They want mixed kids. So we're all coming together and ain't gonna be no more white. They think there ain't gonna be no more white tea people. But unfortunately there will be. It just ain't gonna be that many. You feel what I'm saying? That's why they big mad. They want the white women to give birth to white kids. They don't give a fuck about us.
Well,
if they did, then you know what I mean?
There's a lot of black folks that want black women to give birth to black kids too, though, Granny. That ain't something unique to the white man.
It's called black love. That's totally different. They're not forcing people. Like they're not passing laws for that. It's called black love.
There are currently no laws requiring that white women have only white kids either. There's no law.
Oh my fucking God. They just turned over Roe versus Wade. Why do you think the white man did that? Let's break it down to you, Pookie. Why do you think they demolished Roe versus Wade? Why? Why do you think that is?
They thought the birth rate was dropping.
What? No shit, Sherlock. Because the white women wasn't having no more baby kids. I wouldn't either, because they would keep you up at damn school. You feel what I'm saying? I wouldn't either.
Well,
they got some fucking they got some fucked up kids. I don't know what the white tea people are doing today, baby kids. They fucking it all up. You know what? Let me tell you something. I be hearing the shit that they be doing that. You know what it is though? You know why they have some fucked up baby kids? They be doing gentle parenting. Have they ever been to a black home like my home? Shit, we don't do no gender parenting. I get the belt after my damn baby kids.
You've attracted the ire of one of my viewers. Ed G says Gangsta Grandma is being openly racist towards white people, then complaining she hates. Hold on, not only are you being openly racist towards white people, he continues on to say that you're complaining that you hate racist people, but you're a prime example of how the Democrats think.
Okay, see, let me tell you something. That's how ignorant these little motherfuckers are. I've always said I am not racist. I'm not. I'm all for white tea people. Only our allies. I don't give two fucks about the maggots. The maggots have put us in this situation. They voted for hate. They voted for people for losing their welfare, for losing their food stamps, the vets losing everything. Their shit. Why the fuck do I give a fuck about those sorry pieces of shit? Yeah, I talk mad shit. I do. I call them fucking whatever I fucking feel like calling them. I give them no grace. They don't give us no grace. When they went to the ballot box, they voted for them. They're selfish. Me. I voted for fucking we. I voted for vets. I voted for the poor people. I voted for the black and brown people. I didn't vote for me.
Well,
they are racist, a piece of shit. They voted for hate.
Isn't that what you say you voted for us? Isn't that what America First is about? Voting, taking care of Americans.
I voted for we. I voted so they won't lose their benefits. I don't get food stamps. I don't get Medicaid and Medicare. I don't get none of that. I pay. But I voted for the poor people, the working poor people. I didn't fucking forget where the fuck I came from. I came from the hood. I grew up on food stamps and stuff. My father, my mother busted their ass and still was on food stamps. I never forgot about that. I voted for them. I didn't vote for myself. Those sorry piece of shit voted for racism. They didn't want a black woman in fucking office.
Well, they succeeded at that. I gotta move on, Gangsta Grandma.
Well, let me tell you one last thing. I am so sick of the white tea people saying I'm fucking racist when they look at themselves in the fucking mirror and they voted for a fucking racist and they are a fucking racist. I give them the same fucking damn energy right fucking back. I call them out they fucking names because I don't have no respect for them. So I am not racist. When I say I like white people, I like my own people, like my allies and stuff. I have a girl that comes on here all the time. That's in your life. I friended her on here. I talk to her and stuff. She's cool as hell.
Well,
she's an ally.
On YouTube,
I only talk to allies.
Well, I'm going to assume this is not an ally, but Kelly Girl on YouTube, who looks to be a white woman, says you are disgusting. So she's not a fan. I mean, there's some folks.
Well, guess what? Guess what?
I'm listening.
I love being disgusting to the white man. You know why? 'Cause I don't kiss
this is a woman.
ass.
This is a woman.
They bend over. Oh yeah, they bend over. They kiss my ass. They work for me. See, I don't work for the white man. The white man works for me.
This is a woman, but this is a woman, gang. It's a woman. It's not a man.
What are you talking about? White women and white men work for me. I'm the boss, bitch. They kiss my black ass. I don't kiss a damn fucking white woman's ass. They kiss my ass. So yeah, bitch, I'll be that. Okay? I'll never be a fucking maggot.
All right, gangster grandma. I do got to move it on. You make me sweat. Thank you for coming through. Wow, she does not look every live. Like I said, we don't block, ban, or censor. So understand, you're going to hear opinions you favor. You're going to hear opinions you do not like. We are MAGA friendly, despite what you may have heard from my last caller, but we are MAGA friendly. We've been that way since day one. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You can be critical of anyone in this program, up to and including the host, as you may have just witnessed. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue, usually from all sides of the aisle, I'm going to ask that if you're watching on TikTok, follow the program. If you're currently watching us live on Instagram, give your boy a follow. We're here generally on the weekdays. And the same if you're watching on YouTube horizontal or YouTube vertical. Give your guy a subscription. Supercell Future says, encountering to what Angie said, I would say behind every strong black man, you got a gangster grandma as we live and breathe. Gangster grandma would have them submitting. If you got if you a strong man, a strong black man, you got gangster grandma behind you, you submitting, because gangster grandma don't seem like ain't no half stepping, to quote Big Daddy Kane on that. Ed G says, still racist. Imagine if I say I only like middle class conservative blacks and fuck those low class ghetto ones. I think most people would say that was racist, Ed G. Now, gangsta grandma tears into me because I say that her comments sound like she's intolerant. And she, calls me all kinds of names, up to and including a bitch. So, but it is what it is. This is a free speech program. You know how it works. I see Me Too says Ed G, learn how to spell for it. Gangsta grandma is the farthest thing from a lady, says Kelly Girl. Well, there you go. Looking in the comments, oh my God, y'all making me roll over here, says Dirty Money. Appreciate you tuning in. We try to deliver an entertaining program and a little bit of educational if we can get it in there. I am not a know-it-all type host. I learn a lot from you folks, and hopefully we can make it so we all are entertained as well as educated to some degree. So I'll go ahead and move the program on. By the way, I said follow the program if you're watching on TikTok, Instagram, and give me a subscription if you're on YouTube. You know how it is. And click that like button. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. You know what we're talking about. So I'll go on to the next caller. Before we do, though, I want you to hear this. Keep in mind, the Democrat Party, the party of the Triple K, the party of slavery, Democrats, the party of the Jim Crow South. You heard everybody from Joe Biden, vote for me, you ain't black, to even the late, great Malcolm X warning folks about the liberal party. Many would suggest it is the liberals that are the party of racism, and you're probably more safer off voting for Trump. I want you to hear this. This is 2025. I cannot believe this still exists, but listen to this one.
Los Angeles tonight, and in just the last 45 minutes, we're learning more about the president mobilizing.
That's what is referred to as a fuck up. That is not what I meant to play. This is what I meant to play, so bear with me. Take two.
And now to a story that's trending right now on ABC11.com. The push to remove a Jim Crow era literacy test from the North Carolina Constitution is once again up for debate in the General Assembly. In 1970, lawmakers passed an amendment to remove the literacy test in the wake of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which banned literacy tests blocking people from voting. However, when that approved amendment went to the ballot, North Carolina voters did not ratify it. The latest effort is House Bill 44, which, if passed, would go on the elections ballot next year. Literacy tests were widely used in the South after the Reconstruction era as a way to keep black citizens from voting.
That's in North Carolina. That's current. House Bill 44, they're having trouble removing literacy tests from the ballot. Now, people say that, they may, there may be some kind of push to take America in a backwards direction or whatever. Now, literacy tests I think we all know that there used to be a process where people had to take a test to determine if they could vote or not. The problem with it wasn't a test where there's a right and a wrong answer. 2 plus 2 is 4. If you don't know 2 plus 2, then you can't vote. It wasn't like that. It was more of a test, as opposed to asking you, well, which amendment guarantees your right to bear arms? No, it would be more like, what is the best reason we have the Second Amendment to begin with? The problem with phrasing it that way is it leaves it up to the person grading the test to offer an opinion on whether or not you got it right. For obvious reasons. That way they could exclude certain people and fail the test. All of the questions were based on opinions, not actual facts. Why do you think it's good to have free speech rights? Well, if the person grading your test does not think your answer is good, all it took was one wrong answer. You failed the test, you can't vote. This is what they used to have. And you hear her suggesting that in 2025 in North Carolina, they're still having trouble removing that from their constitution. Why did I bring up all this Democrat, KKK, slavery stuff? What do you think in North Carolina? Who do you think is preventing that bill, that amendment from taking place? You think it's the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Obama-loving voters that want to keep it in the Constitution that you got to take a literacy test? Who do you think's making it hard to get literacy tests taken off the North Carolina Constitution? Just think about that, because you often hear which party is out to get certain people. Anyhow, continuing on, I could not believe that when I heard that shit. 2025, they were still trying to keep literacy tests on the Constitution. North Carolina, you're not allowed to be intelligent, says Sutton Booch. Wow. Going to the box, I just couldn't believe that was on there. We'll continue on with Daryl Morgan. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Daryl. If the box lets him bring it up. Maybe it didn't. We may have to bring up another caller. I think it reset. But we are indeed talking about a host of issues. Number one being the mess that is known as Southern California right now. I'm watching News Nation on the big screen behind me, and it is a mess there. It is a mess. People are on the streets all over the damn place. It looks like a block club party with military police in riot gear, from what I can tell. So it's on and popping in Los Angeles right now. Based on the ability to vote, Gov wants them dumber. Well, you should not have to take any kind of test to vote. They're just period. You should not. And then they also used to have what they call poll taxes as well. You had to pay to vote, and they had a very convenient exclusion in there. If your grandfather had the right to vote, you don't have to pay a tax. That was part of that. You got to pay a certain amount to vote, but if your grandfather had rights to vote, then you automatically are given the right to vote. Obviously excluding African Americans, because all of their grandfathers were slaves and they didn't have the right to vote. I mean, it's crazy some of the shit they used to pass back in the day. Anyway, Tim, don't gaslight. It's all LAPD. Well, I'm just telling you what Trump has been on record as saying. We'll go with that. Continuing on, Betterment. I think it says black women. Good evening. Welcome to the program. I'm having problems bringing up guests. I'm having problems. Here we go. Betterment. Good evening.
Hey.
Hey, good to have you on again. I haven't talked to you.
I am from Los Angeles.
Really? Is
Yes.
it as bad as it's looking on the cable news networks?
I haven't been down there. I don't think I even want to go close down there. But it's from what I'm looking at it's pretty bad.
But you say down there, so it's just downtown?
Just downtown.
So that's still only, I mean, the downtown LA is only, about a square mile or so?
Yes. So basically, they set 5 Waymo cars on fire.
Yeah.
The ones that drive by themselves,
Right.
they set that on fire. They're throwing bricks and scooters at police cars. They're sending the National Guard, the Marines down there. And this is Trump doing that. He's sending the Marines down there to Los Angeles. And I feel like he's making it worse. He's trying to hurt these people. And Governor Newsom is filing another lawsuit because Donald Trump is overstepping his authority. He's saying that the LAPD can handle it. But when you send the National Guards or the Marines down there, it's just going to make it worse. And people are going to push back, because people are tired. They want ICE out of California.
Yeah.
And I agree, ICE should not be in California.
But what about the notion? Now you're saying you want ICE out of California, but many would. I'm going to play devil's advocate on the other side of this and suggest that many would say that if you want ICE out of California, stop taking illegal immigrants into California. You do have the largest illegal undocumented population in your state. That's why ICE is there. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's our business as a state. If we want illegal immigrants in our state, that's our business. We have a right to do it.
I don't believe that's true. That would be like Alabama saying if we want to mistreat black people in our state.
Well, we had them here all this time, and they stayed here. So what's the problem now?
Well, the problem now is that Trump has decided to actually enforce the law. They were letting you guys getting away with breaking the law.
Well, I don't have no problems with immigrants. They didn't do anything to me. They don't harm me, so I don't have no problem with them staying. Now, if they break the law, let's say if they break the law and they're in this country illegally, of course they should be removed because they're breaking the law. They're breaking California law and they're breaking the law of the United States. Yes, they should be deported. But
they're breaking the law. Just simply being here illegally is breaking the law in itself.
Not if they are here by let's say what is it? I would say sanctuary, because we are a sanctuary state. To be honest with you,
you know what that means, though. You know what that means, though. Sanctuary state means we are going to allow you to stay here without enforcing federal law. We'll allow you to break federal law here, and you don't have to worry about us turning you in. They're breaking the law, though.
Well, that's our that's California. Like, if they don't want to send them back, that's fine, But it's like I said, like, I can agree with some things that Trump is saying. I can say that if they're breaking the law, go ahead and send them out. But if you're just sending innocent people from out of this country that has not broken the law, they're following they're following the law and they're waiting for citizenship, they should not be deported out of this country. Not only that, you're deporting American citizens. Like, you're definitely breaking the Constitution.
Well, some of that, listen, I'm not going to argue with you on, you don't have the right to deport American citizens. You and I agree on that. However, when you said folks who are waiting for citizenship, the Trump administration has the right to decide if what you're waiting for is something you're actually going to get. The Trump administration has decided people who are seeking asylum and all of these folks who, as you say, are waiting for citizenship, he decided, I'm not going to give it to you. And as cruel as it might sound, he does have the right to do that. It's not like the people, talking about the folks in this great nation, all the voters, did not know what he was going to do. He made it clear that if I become president, a lot of folks that are waiting for citizenship or waiting to get a green card or waiting to become a permanent resident, I'm going to cut it off at the pass and deport them. I mean, he made it clear he was going to do that.
Yeah, he did. But I don't think it's fair to deport everybody if they are not breaking the law in the United States. And I believe that Trump is doing this because he is a racist. Let me tell you something. We work these construction jobs, the illegals, who are working on the corners of to make a living. The illegals, they're working the farms. They're doing jobs that Americans do not want to work. So if you take them out of this country, then who's going to replace them?
Well, then let me try the devil's advocate thing on this again. Now you said that they're doing, because George W. Bush used to say the same thing you're saying, is that the illegals or immigrants do jobs no Americans want. I'm going to push back and say this: if right now in the middle of the night my septic tank went out and I needed a plumber to come out to my house and go knee deep in shit and unclog my drain, you can find one, because they're going to charge you a premium to come to your house in the middle of the night, but there would always be a plumber willing to work 24 hours to do that. And that's worse than any immigrant job. It ain't that they're doing jobs no Americans want. It's the pay. Because like I said, somebody will come and go knee deep in shit to fix your septic.
It's a job that Americans do not want because of the pay.
Right.
They do not want their job if they do not get a fair wages. That's why the immigrants took those jobs, because Americans don't want. Americans want higher wages.
Yeah, but this is one of those cases of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Now you're saying the immigrants took those jobs because they didn't pay as much and Americans didn't want them. I'm going to submit to you that the immigrants, the jobs were paying Americans first, and the employers realized we could hire immigrants for cheaper, and that's what lowered the way. I mean, we've always had fruit being picked in this country. Long before we had an illegal immigration problem, people still ate fruit. All those jobs are still being done. It's that the people who are paying for those jobs realize we can now tap into cheap immigrant labor, and they lowered the prices of everything.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay Americans a fair wage. Think about it. Like they don't want to. That's why they hired the immigrants. But you have to think about it. Most Americans, they want a sensible wage. Yeah. That's why they're not taking these jobs. So these companies have no choice but to hire these illegal immigrants. But let me tell you something. Job Corps is going to close down along with the Department of Labor.
I heard a judge stopped that, by the way.
On the end of this month. And a lot of kids are going to be homeless. And we're already dealing with a homeless crisis in California. So if these Job Corps centers shut down, we're going to have a younger population of 16 to 24-year-olds homeless on the streets with nowhere to go.
I heard that a judge stopped the Job Corps closings, at least temporarily. I think I heard that they stopped it.
I haven't heard that yet. I haven't heard it. So, for as far as I know, they're closing the Job Corps, but there has been protests on that too, where Job Corps students and staff and other faculty members are trying to put a stop to it. That's what I know.
Yeah. Now, does it really amount to that? Is it that many? Because I did a short stint in Job Corps myself, and I got out of it because
graduate myself.
Yeah, I got out of it because now a lot of the complaints people are lodging as to why it was a good thing to close Job Corps. When I got out of it in 1990, after only a few months in it, I confirm it was bad. I mean, it just felt like I was around a bunch of inmates. I mean, it was violent as hell.
Well,
drugs.
I'm going to be honest with you. You do have people coming in there with criminal records, doing a trade, and and still acting a fool. Yeah. But that didn't stop me from graduating. That finishing up my trade at Job Corps. I'm one of the living proof that Job Corps can succeed. It's just that people just don't put their minds to it, or they just get kicked out because they're doing foolish things.
Yeah, I recall it being pretty damn violent. Like I said, I was in there for a few months, and I mean, I already had a high school diploma. I just wanted to do something. And when I went in there, virtually nobody had a diploma. I mean, I was just like, I'm out of here. This is not where it's at.
Here's the thing. Like a couple of years ago, while I was still in Job Corps, this happened in 2011, 2012, where one of the staff members, and it was on the news, it was on headlines. A staff member was stabbed to death by one of the students in the dorms because I guess there was a dispute that happened. He was going to write him up or something, and all of a sudden he took a shank or something out of his tool bus because I think he was doing, I forgot what trade he was in, and he stabbed him repeatedly.
Probably carpentry, because we had I was in the one in Southern Illinois, and it was carpentry, I think welding, typing class. We were still people, you could still, learning to type was still a career choice back then. I think computers or something. I mean, it was about 4 or 5 different programs, but carpentry would be where you would get a lot of good shanks from, because you can build and make anything you want. But is it really that many centers? I mean, because you're talking about being homeless.
Well, when I was going to Job Corps and I was in downtown LA at the time, you will see homeless people right in the middle, and it's ridiculous. I seen homeless people that they're not in their minds, they're drug addicts, mentally ill, or they just don't have no place to go. Like, it's very sad to see that from Los Angeles to San Francisco. You know what I mean? So, just to see kids just not getting a chance to graduate and have a trade, it really breaks my heart. Yeah. Because these kids go into school to become something, to get a trade, to become like construction workers, truck drivers, whatever, nurses, they have nursing, and just to see all that go, it's just.
I can sympathize with what you're saying, and there's obviously a lot of homelessness out there.
Yeah, and not only that, who wants to, we can't afford college. Come on now. Nobody can afford college because it's too expensive, and on top of that, you have to take out a loan. Yeah. And
I'm a victim of that. I got to move it on, but I'm certainly a victim of that. I know the burden of that. I'm still dealing with that, but until we get now, you're going to need a liberal. You're going to need a liberal in the White House to get rid of that. But because the Republican Party is not trying to remove college debt burden from anyone. They believe if you took the loan out, you should pay it back, even if it's the last thing you do before passing away. They want you, no mercy on that.
Well, we should pay our loans back, but not in we shouldn't be penalized for not, because people are struggling right now. That's what I'm trying to get. People are struggling right now. People have car notes. People have insurance to pay. They got rent. They got mortgages. Yeah. And to put just to put it on your credit report or try to seize people's property just because they couldn't pay their loan, that's ridiculous.
Well, they do give, for your loans to go into default, they do give you a lot of time to get a job and get your life straight. I mean, they work with you a lot. If your loans are in default, oftentimes people who have loans in default.
The only way they can put it into default if you go to school.
No. I'm saying when it gets to the point where it's ruining your credit and stuff, it takes a long time to get to that unless you don't communicate with them and you just not pay them for a lengthy period of time. But you can go a long time as long as you're communicating with them. You can go a long time, forbearance and things like that, putting those loans on hold. They give you time to get your life together. It ain't like it happens overnight. I got to move it on. Betterment. Go ahead. Give you the last word.
Okay. All I have to say is that I hope all this comes down and people just go back and to come into normal. But there's always going to be protests. It's going to be a riot again. It's just a matter of time. After this dies down, there's going to be another one. So, we're very liberal here in California. Very liberal. We don't put up with stuff.
Whoa.
And we definitely don't like
putting up with all them illegal immigrants. I got to go. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. All right. Looking in the comments. Yep. Hurricane season and Donald and Elon cut a lot of the staff in a way that tracks hurricane. Yeah. I think that, look, if the liberals were in power, I think there's a whole lot of things happening right now that Trump would be seizing on and blaming Biden or Kamala Harris for. Certainly the amount of aircraft incidents we've had, planes crashing and shit like that. If they can find a way to blame the liberals for the price of eggs, even though it's bird flu, there's no way in hell the liberals wouldn't be taking a thrashing for what's going on in the airline industry. Trump is getting a real pass because the liberals are not really hitting them hard with that. I mean, you fire a ton of people in the industry, and all of a sudden the industry is not safe. I mean, they're telling you it's not even safe to fly into Newark, New Jersey. The liberals aren't doing a good job with that. I'm just going to say right off the bat, they're not doing a good job because, yeah, Trump would be bashing the hell out of the Democrats about that. And then the same thing as one of the viewers in the comments talked about with the NOAA, the weather industry. Same thing. I mean, you got hurricane season coming now, and I mean, you got Trump who bashed Biden after the hurricane struck, over there in Asheville, North Carolina, over there in the western part of that state, suggesting that the Biden administration was basically not sending FEMA there to help those folks who were downtrodden soon enough. That Biden left all of them hanging. Trump, running for office, went to North Carolina and talked to those folks. They were going to vote for him anyway, but he went over there and pounded into their heads. See, Biden is ineffective and things like that. Trump gets in office, immediately does huge cuts to FEMA, and those folks are still suffering. Those folks are still suffering. What are the chances, even though they're suffering, even though Trump has let them down just as much as Biden, they would still vote for Trump? What are the chances? Anyway, looking in the comments, where the carcass is, the Eagles will get. Okay, go to Miami Airport on American Airlines. You'll change your tune real fast. Don't know what that means. Australia can have Trump. No, they don't want nothing to do with Trump. I used to live there, and I talk to Australians all the time. They think that America made the biggest mistake ever. By the way, before we continue on, and I wanted to play this. I was talking to my last caller. This is a 30-second clip. I'm just curious. I don't know what's said here, but she was mentioning Job Corps, and I just wanted to hear this. And I don't think I'm going to be able to hear it because the volume's not up, but I just wanted to hear this clip real quick.
New tonight, the U.S. Department of Labor will pause its Job Corps program by June 30th. That's according to a release published today on its website. Job Corps is a program that offers free education.
Okay, so she's right. I thought I heard that the judge had stopped that, but I think she's right. And there are a lot of minorities that depend on Job Corps. She is right. They do provide housing while you're in the program, and those folks, a lot of them are, like I said, straight out of juvenile detention centers and things like that. They don't have anywhere else to go. And that's where I think one of the problems is with Trump. And before I get to that point, Supercell Fusion says, Trump ain't shit. He says, I think Elon and Trump are down. And I quote, I think Trump and Elon are down. And I quote, he did say, I will deport him. What do you think about that, Tim? I don't think Trump's going to deport Elon Musk. I don't think he's going to do that. And if well, like I said, it wouldn't be the first time I said Trump ain't going to do something that he actually did. Wow, that would be a mess. Yikes. I think he might go after them 59 South Afrikaners first. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, regardless if you like Trump or you dislike Trump, I don't even think MAGA can deny that Trump is vengeful. Trump loves getting revenge on people. So, I mean, he already stated that if Elon starts offering cash to primary Republicans for Democrats, it's going to be a big mistake. I mean, he's already threatening Elon. So, I don't know if he would deport Elon, damn. But I will say, look, if Elon keeps pushing, I won't say Trump won't do it either. I won't say he won't do it. Trump is a vengeful president. He will do whatever he can within his arsenal. So if that's something he can do, Elon is a citizen though, right? Elon is a citizen of the United States. So he would have to make up some crime, which probably wouldn't be hard if you dig deep enough, because some of that election shit, like when Elon tried to sway the election in Wisconsin, my guess is Elon probably got a few crimes out there he could muster up. If Trump was not on the Epstein list, he should have no problem releasing the files. Sean the Great. You know something? I'll just say this before I go to the next caller. I don't think it matters. When Trump said middle of Fifth Avenue, damn it, I believe that. I don't. If Trump popped up on the Epstein list, I don't think most of MAGA would change their tune at all. I just don't believe that. I do believe the middle of Fifth Avenue theory, and I don't believe Trump popping up on the Epstein list would make much of a difference at all. They would still support him. Going back to the box though, it says I don't know what I'm hitting here, but let's see if we can bring up the one and only Den Cal. Good evening, Den Cal. Welcome to the program. Now, you've been listening in. What do you think about what's going on in Southern Cal, Den Cal? You think it's necessary what Trump is doing, or you think he might be overstepping it?
I mean, of course he's overstepping it. That's his MO. Like, overstepping it is what he kind of does.
Yeah.
But like they're saying, he's claiming victory because he sent those people down there. They haven't even engaged with anybody. It's been all LAPD and the state people. But he's out there saying he the one who stopped the stuff last night, and now they adding 700 more Marines for what?
I think he's just trying to be big and bad. But hold on one second. I've never had to do this before, but nature is calling. I'll be right back. I don't have a choice in the matter. Damn.
Yeah, and for the other people, the MAGAs in here, Trump was saying earlier, well, in his first term, he said that he couldn't call out the National Guard without the governor of the state. And I just think that's odd, since he just called out the National Guard without the governor of a state. And he also said during January 6th that Nancy Pelosi had to call out the guard. He asked her and she rejected him. But now he's calling out the guard over somebody who was not in charge of the guard. Nancy Pelosi was not in charge of the National Guard. She was in charge of Capitol Security. Two totally different things. Why would the House Speaker be in charge of the National Guard? That don't make no sense. And also, the MAGA bootlicker RFK just canceled the whole vaccination response. The CDC vaccine advisory panel just fired all of them. So heaven forbid something happens right now, and we don't have anybody for advisory panels for vaccines. Yes, it does, Cedric. LA does have something to do with it. If he said that he does not have the power to call out the National Guard, then he doesn't. If he didn't back then he doesn't now. You can't just ignore everything he said and done before and say, well, now it's different, because the law never changed. It does matter. Yeah, King. Yeah, Trump threw out the whole game plan for the what did he call it? It wasn't the vaccine response. It was another team, he called it, but it was they were there just in case an outbreak happened. He fired the whole team and said they were a waste of time. No, that MAGA reacts. I get it. It doesn't matter what he does. You got an excuse for it. There is no difference. There is no difference. He can't just use them. Now, he's saying emergency powers. What emergency powers did he need if the people from LA took care of it themselves? That's not a national, it's called the Insurrection Act for a reason. You can't just call them up because 50 dudes downtown was making a ruckus. There's not a huge difference. He's out here right now. He's calling these couple of hundred people down there in LA. He's calling them an insurrection. and the people that we saw beat the hell out of police officers in front of the Capitol, he called them very fine people. You can say what you want to, but we all saw what we saw. I know he hasn't used the Insurrection Act because he's using the law to skirt around it. Everybody knows you're not supposed to call up the National Guard without the governor unless it is an actual insurrection, which it is not.
You hosting, you're doing a good job there. I heard you. All right. That was not fun. Okay, so don't normally have to do that in the middle of the show, but where were we at?
That's all good.
We're talking about him overstepping in Southern LA. Now, but what about the notion that, because the whole purpose of this is to get peace, to calm down the tensions in that city. That's what Trump is trying to do. Do you think he'll be successful?
No, that's listen, when people react to how the government responds. If you come out there with batons, and you got some, maybe some riot shields or whatever, they respond to that. When you come out there with tanks and AAVs, then obviously people that are frustrated are going to escalate. That's all they're doing is escalating. If the LAPD, who is one of the biggest police departments in the country, if not the biggest, if they can't control what we see was small, limited skirmishes. They making it seem like it was this big thing and it was like the George Floyd situation. It's not. No. And if the police department can handle it, there's no reason for the government, for the president to be calling out, especially not 700 Marines.
Yeah,
Marines are nothing but to kill. That's all they know. That's what they taught.
Yeah, I was the same way. Yeah, I was the same way. I'm like, you got you got hundreds, if not thousands, of more National Guard. Why would you step it up to active duty military? I mean, that just seemed like incredible overkill.
Right, and they was out there burning way more vehicles. You know what I'm saying? Those autonomous cars. Yeah. Like that was like the extent of what they did. Yeah, they was throwing some fireworks and shit. That's civil discord. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I gotta push back a little bit. I saw them throwing cinder blocks from an overpass that were actually breaking the windshield of moving police cars. Which, if the car's moving, that means somebody's driving it. And you're throwing a cinder block down from us. I mean, you could kill somebody doing that.
Right. I'm not saying that there are not people out there doing bad things, but if you look at the totality of it, you can't say, okay, a couple of people, how bad it was, them throwing stuff over the side warrants 700 Marines. I ain't gonna even count I ain't gonna even count the dang on
National Guard.
Can you imagine how them Marines must feel getting ready to go get deployed to Los Angeles?
Yeah, well, it's
gotta be heavy. It's gotta be heavy on them to think that they're being sent in there by this president for something that they never should be involved in.
No, yeah, I can't disagree with you anymore. I mean, that's literally almost like the definition of a civil war. You're basically making Americans fight Americans. Like I said, I'm with you. They're trained to kill, as you put it. That's their job as Marines. Why would you release them into an American city? There is some chaos going on in that town, but nowhere near to the level that this ain't Fallujah. Like, damn. I mean, to take it to that level, just send in an overwhelming amount of National Guard before you go up to the active duty Marines. I don't get that.
They're not even overwhelmed like that. This is not an overwhelming thing. Like, they got groups of like 50 officers moving the crowd and stuff. This is not what they're making it out to be. Of course, they're going to make it out to be just as big as January 6th, when Jan 6 had like 100,000 people down there. They're trying to make it compare it to that time. Well, they never burned any cars on January 6th. No, people got shot on January 6th. Yeah, no,
shout out to the late Ashley Babbitt. Appreciate that, Mike. Yeah.
They snatch police officers and they beat the hell out of them with Trump signs. They tase them with their own tasers in the fucking neck, and they tried to assassinate the vice president. But they gonna make it all. This is all the same thing. Is what they saying right now.
Well, they made it sound like January 6th could not have been that bad because nobody had weapons at that protest.
Yeah, but we know that there's people that got arrested. We know that we got the reports. They saw weapons. They saw ARs. They saw all of that stuff. Just because they allowed everybody to go home and then go arrest people at their house,
right,
doesn't mean that there was no way. It was all of them people there, Proud Boys, all of these organizations, and there wasn't no weapons there. Just because what did they do? They waited till they ushered everybody out of the place. They damn near let everybody go home, and now they saying, well, it wasn't no weapons there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Well, if you listen to the January 6th hearings, they even played radio transmissions of cops that were actively saying that they see weapons. I mean, they seen guys in trees and shit with guns. I mean, they were talking about it on the radio that day.
Right, and they told the president, the Secret Service told the president, and he said, they're not after me, let them in, take down the magnometers.
Yeah, by the way, there's a clip I've played on the program here before of a reporter that was embedded in the crowd, and one of the protesters lifted up his shirt and showed her he had a pistol on him. So, I mean, she was allowed to film it. So clearly there was at least one person that was willing to display he was carrying a pistol.
Yeah, I mean, if we just go by Trump's rationale, they said they've locked up about 50 to 100 people in all of this stuff that's going on. Think about that. 50 to 100 people, but he calling in 700 Marines and thousands of National Guard.
Yeah, and most of them people are probably going to be misdemeanors too. Yeah, most of them.
But they should all be let out if we use Trump's logic.
Oh.
I mean, they just protested.
That ain't gonna happen under Trump. We know that.
They just want to be heard.
Yeah. And what do you say? It was a love fest? Let me ask you before I move it on. You heard that Kilmar Brego Garcia is back on U.S. soil. Now they want to get him for human trafficking and all of this stuff. Do you see? Does it look like they're trying to create a case out of nothing?
Yeah. Oh, they have. We went from look, he beat his wife. Oh, look, he was stopped before in a car. To now he's damn near the leader of a trafficking organization, and he's been known to, because he had extra seats in the car. He's been smuggling people back and forth, and he's a menace to society.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like you pulled this guy over back in 2022, I think it was, and you got him on body cam being questioned by officers about the seats in his car, and they're going to make a case out of that. Like, I mean, if he wasn't arrested, he wasn't even charged back then. So you want to go back and try to somehow prove back in 2022 he was doing this based on that video? I just don't see it. If he has even decent counsel, he's going to beat this.
Yeah, unless they do a job on him. Now, they're gonna be trying. DOJ, he got the whole apparatus, and we know he will weaponize that system. So, I mean, I don't know what these people are capable of, but like you said, if he's got which he's got more than decent representation, because he's got those lawyers who do the immigration thing, like they taking his case on pro bono. So he
would get a hell of a GoFundMe going right now. If they raise a GoFundMe page for him, he would probably get millions of dollars donated to him.
Bruh, I'm sure he's already got one in the Hispanic community. They just don't advertise their shit like everybody else. They get together in community and they help each other out. So I'm sure his family has been receiving, ample support to make sure that they okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey, but one quick thing before I go, I just want to know that did you know that RFK fired the whole what's it called, the
HHS?
No, the whole CDC vaccine advisory panel. So we don't have anybody in those positions if something were to break out right now. The whole crew. Not just a couple of them at the top, not just the what do they call them?
The administrators.
Not the swamp, the administrative, none of that. The whole advisory panel, all of the scientists, obviously because they probably said he was batshit crazy, he fired them all.
And he wanted to be president. I mean, you think Trump is doing some controversial shit? This motherfucker would have closed down all hospitals. Closed out. He would have banned ambulances and shit. I mean, like, he wanted to be president.
And if he get his way, if the big beautiful bill gets their way with all of them cuts to Medicare, there will be a lot of hospitals shutting down because a lot of hospitals depend on, especially those rural small town hospitals, they depend on Medicare payments. That's the only way they stay open.
Wow. Well, like I said, the next campaign slogan for the president that comes after Trump is probably going to be "America, we're hiring." Vote for me, we're hiring. Because they got to get all these people back. They fired way too many people. You know, if we were going to try to cut wasteful spending in the government, they sure started with the lowest peons on the totem scale. The people who are getting away with huge amounts of waste, fraud, and abuse, they let them scram. I mean, they firing basically working class people. I mean,
they call that brain drain. All of the people with the knowledge at the top are getting fired.
Yikes. All right, man, that's disturbing news. I did not hear that. That's awful. I mean, yeah, if we do have another...
Hey, one more quick thing while you was using the bathroom. There's a video out there with Trump when his first term saying that he could not call in the National Guard without a governor's permission. And he said he would not do that.
Trump was lying.
What he's doing now is contradictory. We know that. But that's just a way for you to show your beloved MAGA. When we say he's a fucking liar and a piece of shit, that we have proof. And it's not just us making this stuff up.
Yeah. I'll just say I definitely believe that the notion that Trump could not provide any kind of National Guard on January 6th is a lie. I mean, but then again, the whole notion of January 6th was a lie. The whole reason they met there was a lie. So nothing truthful will ever come out of that day. It was a love fest. Nobody had any weapons. All of that stuff is a lie. I got to go, then, Cal. Appreciate it.
All right. Take it easy.
You too. All right. Looking in the comments, according to a liberal, nobody does nothing wrong except for MAGA. Get a life. Will Sim, you never heard anybody yelling genocide Joe has got to go at all the Biden rallies? If you think that liberals think that only people can do something wrong is MAGA, then you're not paying attention to liberals. There are plenty of liberals criticizing other liberals. What is the senator in Pennsylvania, Fetterman? He's criticizing liberals all the damn time. So is Bill Maher, the comedian, criticizing liberals all the time. For you to say something like that makes it clear that you're only getting your information from the right. There are plenty of liberals. I mean, Bernie Sanders criticized the likes of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, there's a whole lot of liberals criticizing liberals. And you're always going to see more liberals criticizing each other than Republicans because the mindset of the liberals is far wider, far more encompassing. But the feminists have an issue with the whole Me Too movement. They were cannibalizing their own people with the Me Too movement. What was the senator in Minnesota? They got canned. Pretty much got fired. I can't think. Al Franken, I think his name was. I mean, yeah, the liberals absolutely see other liberals doing something wrong. For you to say that means you don't know anything about it. Supercell Fusion says Super Tim is doing a secret cabinet meeting with Tom Homan and Mike Pence. You disappeared. How was that cabinet meeting? Well, Tom Homan is relevant, but Mike Pence is not. Mike Pence's whole career is over with. Mike Pence is irrelevant at this point. And I'll just say this. I don't have any credibility. Okay, look, let's say you're on the liberal side and you don't think Trump you do not believe Trump has the right direction for America. If you're hearing that from, let's say, Michael Cohen, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, all of these folks that are criticizing Trump, but when it came down to it, they supported him. My opinion, you don't have any credibility. If you're going to go around saying that he's a bad guy, but then come election time you're voting for him, you don't have any. I don't think Mike Pence voted for Trump. I might take Mike Pence out of that. Mike Pence did not vote for Trump this last go round, but Nikki Haley did, and she ran a campaign saying that he was terrible. And boom, same thing would be with probably Ron DeSantis is another one. Who else would? I mean, like I said, you don't have any credibility. Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, like you don't have any credibility, in my opinion. Looking at the comments, Social Security, Medicaid are paid by our taxes to the government, and then the money comes from. I don't get what you're saying, King. The way Trump is running the country is seditious. I think Trump is enjoying the spoils of war. He beat the Democratic Party. He believes the Democratic Party was willing to do any and everything to take him out. And now that he's won, he is solely focused on revenge. Now, he did tell Sean Hannity he was not going to have time for revenge. I think he said, I'll be a dictator on day one, but I'm going to be too busy making America great to be a vengeful president. That's obviously a lie. That is obviously a lie. Everything from liberal universities to lawyers that defended people that he perceived as enemies, going after everybody from Jack Smith on down. Yeah, he obviously has plenty of time to be vengeful. There's no denying it. That was a flat out lie when he said that. Looking at the comments, yeah, the Department of Education took us from number 1 in education just a few decades to number 25 today. I'm going to say, Dolan Kang, in regards to that comment, I'm not, look, I haven't kept track of the success or failures of the Department of Education, but I'll tell you this, your statement doesn't take everybody into account, because you're saying the Department of Education took us from number 1 in education just a few decades to number 25 today. I can tell you in the Black community, we're more educated than we were 25 years ago. We are definitely more educated than we were 25 years ago. So maybe in other communities, but my guess is the Hispanic community is also more educated than they were 25 years ago, because a lot of the things that were being done to keep folks with lesser education, not letting you in certain institutions and things like that, or just simply teaching you education that was not truthful. I mean, a lot of that stuff has been slowly but surely corrected. We are more educated than we were 25 years ago. There's far more people of color getting high school diplomas and college degrees than there were 25 years ago. And if you go back 25 years before that, it's even better. By your logic, Kamala had no credibility. Racist Joe. I don't buy into the racist part, AG, but I'll agree with you when she's up there saying that Biden had no cognitive decline, and it's looking pretty obvious that he did. Yeah, that certainly hurts her credibility. I'm not going to argue about that part. The racist part, I don't see it, because the competition is Trump. If you can see racism in Biden, racism in the Democratic Party, but you see none in the Republican Party, I'd have to check the glasses you're wearing. I'm not saying that there's not some likely on the Democrat side, but if you can only see it on the Democrat side and you don't see anything on the Republican side, something wrong with that. You're not seeing something right. You're just not seeing something right. Going back to the comment or the box, Stick, the ruler. Good evening, Stick. Hang on a second before you speak there, Stick. Hold on. Super Cell Fusion says Trump ain't shit. Somebody in the comments send that Trump mention you on TV. Did you hear that? Watch out, Tim. They watching you. Trump mentioned me on TV. No, that didn't happen. I wish he did. Trump didn't mention me on TV. All right, King Finn. Good evening.
What's going on, man?
Not much.
I ain't gonna keep you for long. I just need to point out a couple obvious fucking things real quick, okay?
Sure.
So, man, look, I'm not finna argue with MAGA Reacts no more. I'm just gonna leave the program when I see dude on here. Nothing he says makes any fucking sense. He's one of the fluffiest fluffing motherfuckers. I take it back. You are not the head fluffer in charge. That dude is. Okay? Nothing my man says make any sense. Further beyond that, straight kill what's his name?
Mario Borrego Garcia.
Yeah. Man, you know damn well that's a setup job.
Yeah.
You know that's a setup job.
I don't have any pushback on that.
If they had stopped him and found 18 people clown car into his whip and asked him about the extra seats, why the hell wasn't he already in jail before any of this happened? Because he should have been in jail already before they sent him over to Venezuela. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I don't, like I said, I can often play devil's advocate and see the other side issues. I don't see any other side of trying to use a body cam traffic stop photo or video to try to hem this guy up from 3 years ago. I don't see it. So I'm with you on this. That's a setup.
It's just like them stupid ass photos of the MS-13. And Trump started waving in the fucking Oval Office, talking about the pictures mean MS-13. Oh yeah, that's MS-13, and then somebody drew MS-13, photoshopped that shit on his knuckles. It's a head job. Let's move on.
Yeah.
However, so
yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't have any. I mean, the Trump administration is pissed off that they sent this guy out and they were forced to bring him back because of the due process issue. So they're making him anything they can to save face to hang this guy. And yeah, this is a flimsy case at best.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So Los Angeles, what do you think about Los Angeles? Now Trump is trying to bring the peace there and calm things down. You think he'll be successful? That's
not calming nothing down, man. They tried that shit here in Minneapolis. What was it? 50-something ICE agents showed up on the south side of Minneapolis. Never told the mayor of Minneapolis they were coming. Never told the state of Minnesota they were coming. Never told Minneapolis PD that they was coming. And they ass got bagged up into a fucking corner and ended up needing Minneapolis police to come down there and save their ass. Wow. You need to stop playing like ICE is all tough out here. You motherfuckers running around in militia style clothes with no real name around with flags and bullshit masks on. You're gonna get yourself killed. Motherfuckers don't play that shit up here. It wasn't just Mexican people out there that was fucking them up. It was black people and Arabic people too. Somalian people. Everybody was on their ass.
Well, you know something? I'm really surprised when you point out they're wearing masks. They're barely identifying themselves. Like there was one woman from a college or something. They surrounded her in black clothing and masks, balaclavas or whatever. I'm really surprised that nobody has pulled out a firearm and tried to shoot their way out of that shit because it ain't like you identified yourself. You coming across like kidnappers.
Let me tell you, they went to the south side of Minneapolis and that's what happened.
Oh, really?
Pulling out their own damn firearms.
Wow.
Nobody having that shit. The place that they were, the area that they were in was a couple blocks away from George Floyd Square. You don't pull that shit up over there.
Yeah, while some of the folks on the right are bashing California, I think some folks should be blessed that they haven't been very favorable to gun ownership for most of the years. Because if all of them Californians had the same amount of firearms as them Texans or them folks over there in Florida, you might have a major problem going on right now. They don't have the firepower like they do out in Florida or Texas.
All you Republicans jumping up talking about 2A. Oh, my 2A, yeah. Your 2A can go two ways. Please don't think just because you got guns, we don't. Because we do. We just ain't running our mouths about the shit, crying about bullshit laws, because we believe there should be some sort of fucking breaks or some sort of way to handle things like this, because we ain't letting everybody just know we got firearms. You fucked up shit happen? Yeah. But at the same time, do you see Mexican people going to pew-pew schools? Do you see black people running around pew-pew in schools? No, you don't. I wonder why.
So what's the solution to this? I mean, California does have the largest population of illegal immigrants. I mean, do you just leave them there? I mean, Trump does have the right federally to protect immigration laws. But California is a sanctuary state and they don't want to get the people up. So what is the solution?
I think personally you need to figure this shit out. Here's my problem. I don't think Trump's going to be able to do it because he's doing it the wrong way. It doesn't matter how it's fucked up.
Shit, what is the right way?
It's really messed up that it has to be like that because yes, there are a lot of immigrants out there. But I don't think that just making a mad dash into a city and state to grab up as many people as you can and send them some damn where. It's the right thing to do. Is it going to be hard to do? Yes, it is. Is it okay? I can't really say yes or no, because Los Angeles is a sanctuary state where they have lived with those conditions where that whole community has gotten along and ain't shit like that really bad popping off. They talking about how they went to Home Depots. It was picking people up at Home Depots where the day laborers were. Yeah. But remember, those day laborers that are at that Home Depot was the same people that was running out to South and NorCal to save those fucking burning houses. That's other shit that ain't nobody thinking about neither. Because when you needed their help when they save their fucking houses, when they burning down motherfucking houses because of the wildfires out there, then you can't run and go pick them same day laborers up talking about, come on, why your ass going back home? Because you needed them then.
One of the things I often say, just like with the African American community, because people wonder why do blacks always have a chip on their shoulders with police and things like that. And I often bring up when the government is doing something unfair or doing something that's wrong or oppressive to a group of people, it's often the police they use to do that, which is what has ruined the reputation or ruined the relationship rather between blacks and police. All the Jim Crow, all of the oppression was done by way of the cops. Even if they don't want you even if people don't want you in a certain neighborhood, you don't deal with racist citizens. They use the cops to have that enforced. So I'm asking is, how will this affect likely the relationship between Hispanics and law enforcement going forward? Because ICE is ICE, but at the end of the day, they are cops.
I don't think it's going to make it worse. Latinos, you got to really, for real, you really thinking about it. See, California Highway Patrol, that's one part of it again. You remember that the Latinos are brown people too. So the cops ain't been forgiven to them ever since Colors, way back in the day.
Wow.
Ain't nobody been forgiven. They ain't been forgiven to Latinos, to black people, to none of them, none of the people of color. So it's not like you're making a positive impact on it, because you're not. You're only making the shit worse. The only difference is one part of the police department is LAPD, the other part of the police department is ICE. They still people with a badge. The only difference is LAPD show their damn badge numbers, and them folks out there messing with them people up under ICE. The ICE officers out there ain't showing shit.
Yeah, they walking around in plain clothes and masks. Like I said, I'm still surprised they haven't been shot. But let me ask you this, because you mentioned that the Hispanic community hasn't forgiven the police. In the comments, Joseph Missione, I think it says Latinos for Trump. What do you think? Now, Trump won the male Hispanic vote and did pretty well with the female Hispanic vote. Do you think that's changed at all?
Hell yeah, that's changed. You see it on this app all the time. People regretting they vote. What was the biggest thing Google right the day after Trump won? How can I change my vote?
Yeah, I wonder where are those? Yeah, the whole whoever was heading those groups and whoever was heading the local Hispanic for Trump, maybe in Hiawatha, Florida, something like Hialeah, Florida, something like that. Like where are you at? Hialeah, I think it's called. Like where are you guys at? Where's you had the branch office. You were running for Trump. You were promoting them. I would love to find those folks and just do an interview with them.
They probably got deported already.
Well, they were citizens to be able to vote.
What does that matter? Kilmar Abrego was, from what we understood in the beginning, maybe he was a citizen.
No, he wasn't a citizen.
Nobody that Trump done already. Just tell me no one American citizen has been deported. Because we've heard of a couple.
Well, I can't say. Well, I've certainly heard of Americans about to be deported, but the problem is, when you're not giving people due process and you're rushing things, you can deport citizens and nobody will know because they don't get due process and they don't get a phone call. They essentially just disappear. And that's why I was so surprised so many MAGA were in favor of, well, if you're here illegally, you don't deserve due process. Because at the end of the day, that leaves it open for any cop that don't like your ass to just handcuff you, throw you in the back of the wagon and drive off and just tell people, well, he wasn't a citizen anyway. It ain't like you going to get any say-so. You're not going to get a lawyer. You're not going to get a phone call. They're going to take you, put you on a plane and ship you out. If you don't get due process, you could be an American getting deported.
from what I understand, SCOTUS's ruling was if he's on American soil, he should be getting due process. Am I wrong?
The fact is, what's really sad is it had to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And there are people, even with the Supreme Court's ruling, that's still saying if you are a illegal immigrant, you don't deserve due process.
Wow. SCOTUS rule. I could have scored SCOTUS rule if you were on American soil.
Yeah. Well, Scalia, the late Scalia, Justice Scalia even said it that
Yep.
But they don't want to give it to the people.
Just my ass, Scarface. That's what I got to say.
All right, King Finn. Thanks for coming
Tell
through.
MAGA reacts, man. He got to get bigger, man. He been trying to spin shit, just like he's like, oh, that shit you said about the literacy test in North Carolina. Oh, that ain't going on. That's what Tim said. Tim said that it's illegal. You sure? Because I went back and watched the YouTube, and the words that the litmus test was illegal, made illegal by civil rights, never came out your mouth. But that's what MAGA spun to me in the 5 seconds in the comment right after you said it.
Really?
Boy, don't play with me.
I think that
I'll bust your fucking head. Flat out.
MAGA reacts likes to push back. I mean, it ain't always accurate, but he likes to push back. But
he's like an incessant little toddler. He likes to argue about dumb shit. The problem of it is I'm not a fucking toddler. I'm a grown ass man. Don't try that shit with me, cause I'll pull the receipts on your ass. You're not playing with a child, dude. Go sit your ass down. Fuck out of here with that bullshit, boy. Dealing with a grown ass black man. Don't play with me, man. Don't play with me. I ain't gotta argue with no kids, man. Stay out the motherfucking comments, Liz. You want to get your head bust, player? I'm out.
King Finn, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. Real quick, looking in the comments. Remember Newsom arresting people on beaches during COVID? Yeah, the right was very relaxed on COVID. The left was very strong on it. Oddly enough, all of the same folks that had an issue wearing masks during the mask mandates. Now, like all of these folks support ICE wearing masks. You got all of these hate groups wearing masks. These same folks would have swore up and down wearing masks was unconstitutional during the COVID outbreak. But now, just because they want to protest or walk down the street with a swastika, they have no problem putting a mask on. Go figure. Real quick, looking in the comments. I'm 40 and I have receipts too, says MAGA Reacts. I see you pushing back there, MAGA. Wow, and America still ain't back to great yet. Yeah, I don't know where Trump's, some in regards to the whole notion of make America great again. I'd be curious to sit down with someone, like Trump or someone supporting Trump and ask them what is their definition of America being great, quote unquote, again. Like, in other words, what period in American history was America great? I've tried to answer the question. I believe it might be two-parent household, more religion in the family, hierarchy, man, God, man, woman, child, that type of structure. Not the LGBTQ community pushed back into silence. I mean, I can come up with a few things, but the fact is, when you talk about taking America back and making it great again, that works from one aspect. You do not take into consideration other groups of people. That's the only. I mean, it just isn't meant to take into account the Black experience, the Hispanic experience, the Native American. It's not designed for that. It's designed for the most part, a bygone era. This is my opinion. I'm speculating on this, but if you're talking about again, that means you're going back to something that once was. And as a person of color, I don't think even yesterday was better than today. If you're a person of color, every day progressively gets a little bit better and better and better, whether it's the money in the Black and Hispanic community, education in the Black and Hispanic community, the levels of employment in the Black and Hispanic communities, the level of politicians. It's every day is better than yesterday. If you're in those communities, you don't even want to go back to yesterday. So the word again to those communities is almost toxic. It's almost toxic. which is why you often hear minorities ask, well, what does make America great again mean? What are we going back to? So you can spin it, and like I just tried to do, and try to make it make sense, and two-parent household, God in the family, whatever the case may be. But again, is kind of toxic for people of color because of how bad things were. And the further back you go, just the more darker and sinister it gets. But it gets better for white America. It does get better for white America. The 1950s and 60s were better for white America than they are now, because you had hierarchy. Now it's kind of more like society is closer to being equal. Some would argue it's still not there, but it's closer now than it's ever been. Whereas if you're in those eras, you didn't have to compete for shit. You could have what you wanted without any interruption, without any competition. It was a better time. I could see that. ICE agents threats are up over 400%. So do you believe officers and their families should be exposed to danger? Well, Sim, doesn't that make sense to you though? You're saying threats towards ICE agents are up 400%. And you're asking me, so do I believe their families should be exposed to danger? If you take up on a mission where you're going to attempt to deport 3,000 people per day, which is what the Trump goal is, you don't think all of those additional arrests are going to lead to you receiving more threats and being placed more in harm's way? I mean, it's like going from being a traffic cop to working narcotics. Yeah, you're going to receive more threats. What you're doing is far more dangerous. That should be kind of expected. What do you think, you're going to go and start deporting 3,000 people a day and the threat margin is not going to be up? You do realize they're threatening the shit out of a lot of Hispanics too, right? People are not going to work because they're afraid they may not be able to come home. Kids don't know if they'll see their parents again. You're talking about threats towards ICE and their families. You do realize they're threatening the shit out of these people. And it's not just illegal immigrants. When they're hanging around Home Depot, when they're doing raids on job sites and all, you do realize innocent people are being temporarily detained, forced to hand over documentation, probably getting cussed out. Maybe some of them are looking down guns and shit like that. Until they clear you, they're treating you like shit. You don't think that might lead to a few extra threats? Or are you just 100% biased in favor of ICE? Because I'm going to tell you something, even if ICE is doing what's right by the border, and that's questionable, but even if they're doing everything right, they're treating some people wrong. People are being treated wrong in this shit. People are getting profiled. Brown people are being profiled. Just because you showed him you had paperwork that you are an American citizen, and you were born and raised in this country and you belong here, don't mean he didn't treat you like shit in the process to get that. That doesn't mean he didn't pull you over. That doesn't mean he didn't threaten you. That doesn't mean he didn't aim a firearm at your head. That doesn't mean any of that. You don't think that some of that might lead to a few extra additional threats? I mean, they are treating people like shit. I don't know how to explain that to you. Looking in the comments, Supercell Fusion, wow. Shout out to you. Thank you, Supercell Fusion. Says Trump ain't shit. Tim, your last caller was right. MAGA Reacts needs to go to a private bathroom and say 5 Hail Marys. To answer your question, America was great again, but when the pandemic happened, say goodbye. Well, according to my last caller, my caller before last, if Kennedy has gotten rid of all of the vaccination programs or shit like that, we could easily have another pandemic in the near future. And what's really fucked up is America used to lead the way in times of chaos and crises. A lot of our allies are starting to realize they cannot depend on it. I was watching one of the cable news outlets. Now, this is someone saying something that's negative to Trump. I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe there is some validity to it. They're giving numbers that are not good for Trump. But if you're MAGA, you don't give a damn about these numbers. They stated that in the 5 months since President Trump has been elected, by way of canceling USAID, they're attributing tens of thousands of deaths to Elon, who canceled the USAID, but he did it with authorization of President Trump. We used to help out some of these other African nations and some of these really poor nations with a lot of things like medicinal treatment, prescriptions they can't afford, some of these doctors without borders and Peace Corps, all of that shit. By getting rid of USAID, USAID is gone. People aren't dying. Like I said, if you're MAGA, you don't give a fuck about these people. As long as he can make you a little extra money in waste, fraud, and abuse, you don't really care. But getting rid of USAID almost certainly has resulted in deaths. Like I said, it's a number. I don't know what the number is. This guy said like 600,000 or something ridiculous like that. I don't know if the number's accurate or not, but it's a lot greater than zero. It's a lot greater than zero. When you retract all of that hospitalization and medical and all of that treatment that we were giving those folks in these villages and shit like that in these poor communities, you say we're not going to do any of that anymore. Yeah, people are going to die. There's just no denying. People are dying from that. Release the Epstein file, says Don Jackson. Why? It's not going to matter. Also, USAID helped out American farmers because those farmers were being paid to grow crops for foreign aid. Now those farmers aren't making money and have lost income and sitting on rotting food. Yeah, getting rid of USAID hurt people. There's just it's no denying it. It's hurt people and cost folks their lives. There's just no denying. It's just people probably of color in impoverished countries. So the stance is we don't give a damn about them or their lives or their situation. But it's happening. Whether you care about it or not, it's absolutely happening. The Blue 752. Good evening. Welcome to the program, The Blue. And by the way, we're the alleged Christian country with that. I don't care about those folks. I don't care about the poor folks. The Blue, good evening.
What up, my man?
Not much at all. What do you think about Southern Cal? You think Trump is gonna? Do you think he's helping out? I mean, he's sending in the military, National Guard, 700 Marines to hopefully quiet things down. You think that'll work?
No. We'll get back to that though. I just wanted to, you know what? I'm gonna defend my boy MAGA Reacts real quick.
Okay, what do you got?
We got a lot of people on here trying to get him out of here while he's talking.
I don't take people out. You know what? Listen, when I say free speech and I say uncensored, look, I don't always agree with MAGA Reacts. I make it clear, but MAGA Reacts have been on the program for probably over a year. I've never censored him, never limited his time. He ain't going nowhere.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
It's just what I'm getting at is, I mean, I don't agree with him. I mean, hardly ever. But what I'm getting at is it doesn't look good for the left. It doesn't look good for the Liberal Party.
Well, shit, you ought to see what they're saying. Wait, hold on.
That's the kind of shit we need to break away from.
It doesn't look good for the left or the Liberal Party. You ought to see what they said when Gangsta Grandma is in here.
Hey, either way around. but I do. Hey, I'm just being non-biased, dude. I'm being non-biased, and I feel like more often than not, people kind of take on MAGA and want him out of here. And I like you. I mean, you set the example. That's exactly how everyone else should feel in here. We should listen to the other side.
Yeah. Let me just say this, and I'm 100% for listening to the other side. I started this about 4 years ago, and I made it clear then I was pro-MAGA in terms of letting them speak. That's why you always see the MAGA had to let them know it's certainly a place you can speak without being censored here. But I will say this, anytime you see me on the social media where I'm not hosting my own program, I am in MAGA-oriented programs, either Black MAGA or whatever the case. And they say the same shit. I mean, the same thing. People want me gone. I've been banned and blocked. I mean, so it's not a liberal thing. MAGA don't want liberals in there either. I get kicked off programs all the time.
Well, yeah, and I see people saying that in the chat too. But the point is even if they do that, don't stoop to their level.
Okay.
I mean, because that is the main problem is the censorship. That's what's gotten. That is honestly what has gotten the Liberal Party in so much trouble.
I don't know why though. I don't know why. If you start criticizing Trump, you'll censor your ass too. I mean, they don't like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
They got rid of the Dixie Chicks. They don't like. I mean, the right will censor you the same way.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's what I always laugh too when people say that liberals started this. Liberals didn't start this.
No.
This started around George Bush era.
Yeah,
they
during
the rap albums, they started censoring TV shows. You know what I mean? So this isn't exclusively a liberal thing.
No, every during the Iraq War, every liberal that protested the war, from Cindy Sheehan to the Dixie Chicks, was canceled and censored by the right. They were saying they were saying you hated America, you were unpatriotic. Bill O'Reilly was talking about boycotting France and calling them freedom fries instead of French fries. Now that we look back historically, the liberals were right. That war was totally unnecessary. So you're gonna get there's censorship on both sides.
Yeah, and Miss Mobetta, she says because he talks nonsense. I agree with you. A large amount of what comes out of his mouth is nonsense, but we can't be those people anymore. We just can't. This is what's losing us votes. Period. We gotta get over censorship shit.
I don't know, because it almost sounds like you're kind of taking when they go low, we go high road, because the right will censor you in a heartbeat. I mean, it's with the right. The right has a mindset of we're for free speech until you say some shit we don't like to hear, and then they'll censor you just as well.
I'm not talking about right politicians, though. I'm talking about the people, the population that votes for them. That is one of the biggest deals. Every time you talk to one of them, that's one of the first things they bring up is censorship. So
yeah, but what do you
think are actually censoring?
Yeah, but the right, they don't favor censorship. And they want to go back to the days like the Archie Bunker days when you could say whatever you wanted to say on TV. But then when you start talking about having a drag queen show on television, well, no, we can't have that. That's censorship. You want to bring back the racist comments and all of that shit from the Archie Bunker days, but you don't want your kids to know anything about the LGBTQ community, which clearly exists. So they are for censorship.
Right. Yeah, I'm not defending the right whatsoever, and I'm not totally defending MAGA. Not totally defending MAGA Reacts, because I've heard him talk about censoring things that he doesn't agree with. So all I'm saying is I feel like both parties need to get over this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are gonna say what they want to fucking say. We shouldn't be. All it does is cause more problems, in my opinion, more division. We have to bottle that shit up, and you know what I mean. So it is what it is.
Well,
I agree with racism.
The thing about it
is
is
people in this country.
Yeah, but the thing about it is there are children on social media, and people want to control what their children can and can't hear. I mean, like I said, for instance, the liberals.
That's another thing.
Yeah, the liberals don't want to have kids hearing a bunch of racist shit, and the right don't want to have kids hearing about a bunch of LGBTQ shit.
But that's the parents' responsibility. Period. That's the parents' responsibility. If you don't want your kid involved in LGBTQ shit, then sit them down and have a talk with them. You know, if you don't want your kid bullying kids at school, then discipline them.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to stop putting all the responsibility on the government. There are times where the buck stops with you.
Man, that sounds like a conservative point of view there.
I've never claimed to be on either side of the political spectrum. I'm pretty well centrist.
So how do you think Trump is doing as president then, if you're a centrist?
Terrible. I mean, we talked about it before. I think we'll get back to the topic of your show. I think what he's doing is just inhumane. And we talked about that the last time you had your show. We talked about the fact that someone like Jon Stewart is centrist but leans liberal because he's a little more humane.
I don't think it. Well, I'll tell you that. Wait. You said a little bit.
Prime example.
You said hold on. You said a little more humane. I don't think it's hard to be a politician that's more humane than Trump. I mean, he is probably in terms of being humane. I can't think of anybody that we've ever had in any office that was less.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. Maybe some of the presidents during the slavery times, but that's
there you go.
That's a long time ago. I hate when people bring that up. Honestly, it's such a long time ago. It has no relevance to what's going on in politics today.
What do you mean?
Sorry, I'm breaking up. Yeah, sorry, I'm breaking up. What'd you say?
No, you said what has no relevance to what's going on today?
I don't know. I lost my train of thought because the phone.
You said you hate when somebody brings something up because it has no relevance to what's going on today.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, all right.
Talking about
because I think just about anything. I don't know if you were talking about slavery or whatever, but I think anything in the past that made this country what it is has relevance. I mean, obviously, because I thought you were talking about slavery. Because I'm about to say, I mean, when you think about how much.
No, I don't think that's what I was getting at.
Okay,
all right.
Okay.
But either way, no, just back to the topic. It amazes me. Yeah, it's inhumane. It amazes me that we are still at a point where people are okay with this. You know, you'd think you had made so much progress.
Well, when you say okay with this, define this.
I mean, for example, they are going in and rounding up people in immigration offices. These are people that are actively trying to become a citizen, and they're going and taking them from, inside the building and outside the building. They're waiting there for them.
Well, in regards to, and you're absolutely right. They're going, I mean, which is why I've stated before that if you do not have actual citizenship, even permanent residency, if you do not have citizenship, though, under the Trump administration, assume your court date is a trap. Either self-deport and go back home or stay on the run. If you do not have citizenship, I don't care how far along you were, how great it was going, you haven't committed any crimes, assume your court date is a trap. I would not show up to any court date. Go ahead.
And see that forces people to break the law.
Well, shit. I mean, what's the difference?
It's a double-edged sword.
They're going to treat you like you broke the law when you show up anyway.
I know, and that's exactly why you're treating people like they're breaking the law when they're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I would straight up tell people at this point.
That's exactly why we have these protests. That's exactly why we have what's going on in LA right now.
Yeah.
So.
You got me. Like I said, I've said that before, though. Yeah, if you got a court date, don't show up to that shit. I mean, that's just going. I mean, they're just sitting there waiting for you. I mean, even if you thought you might not be deported, they there. That's got to be the most frightening PTSD oriented visit to court you've ever had. I mean, like, that's got to be right up there with hearing a jury read whether you're guilty or not for murder. Like, why even go? Like, just, Thelma and Louise style. Let's just keep on going. I'm not going in that courtroom at all. Not during the Trump administration.
Yeah. So it just stirs the pot, just creates more crime. And it's the same thing with what's going on over there. Like I said, it's people reacting to the cruelty that is going on right now.
Well, gotta say MAGA is loving the cruelty there, D Blue. I gotta move it on, but cruelty 2024, that certainly was not only something they voted for, but it was a promise from Trump. Trump made it clear. Now, he's gotten even more crueler than he promised, but he did promise an ample amount of cruelty. He just got in there and did even some even worse shit, and MAGA considers it as winning, so they like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can guarantee this will be in the history books, and it will be another thing that's a stain on the white race. Man.
Yeah, it's going to
be another thing that they have to apologize for. You see, they always complain about having to apologize, but the thing is if you didn't do the shit in the first place, you wouldn't have to apologize. It's that simple.
Yeah, my guess is there will be generations in the future when they're trying to rewrite this period from history. I agree with you 100%. There are going to be people trying to either portrayed Trump in a fashion that he wasn't as, they weren't doing all of that. I mean, I can see that happening because there are some things that if we're going to claim to be a Christian nation and things like that, yeah, he's not doing Christian shit. So my guess is they're going to be trying to rewrite some of this stuff out of history in the future.
Well, that's another thing too about this. I'm sorry to keep taking up your time. That's another thing too is there are some people there that have been violent, right? I can admit that. For some reason, people with the January 6th shit can't admit it, but I can admit that there were some violent people there. But there were also a lot of innocent people that were targeted. They got tear gassed. They got hit with non-lethal pellets. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just inhumane. It wasn't necessary. And as far as bringing in the military, that is super unnecessary. Even the local police stated that that's unnecessary. They said they had it under control.
Yeah, the police, the mayor said it's unnecessary, and the governor as well. All right, D Blue, appreciate you coming through.
All right, John Stewart, 2028.
Good luck. He better announce he's running. Looking in the comments, Supercell Fusion says this thing is, though, we have some parents out there who don't care how they raise their kids. They just do it all the same. That's the bad part. Yeah, and you're always going to have that. And I'll tell you this, if you want to talk about the notion of bad, irresponsible parents, now that they've rolled back Roe v. Wade, that number's only going to go up. Because you have parents who actually are telling you from the moment of conception, I don't want this kid, and the law is telling them you're going to have that kid anyway. That's not going to be a good parent. That's just not. And the whole notion of, well, you should have kept your legs closed, that don't work. I mean, human beings are going to be human beings. That is not going to work. But yeah, because the whole reason they made the terminating of a pregnancy legal in the first place is because you had people leaving kids on park benches and shit like that. You're not going to force somebody to become mother of the year. They're telling you they don't want. I mean, it's just like even now with men, because men do not have a way out like women do. So if a guy happens to knock up a chick and he tells her, I don't want you to keep it, and she decides I'm going to keep it anyway, chances are highly likely he's not going to be a good dad. He's just not. I mean, he told you ahead of time he didn't want the kid. Well, now you got women that are going to be in that situation where they don't told you ahead of time, I would not like to have this child, and you're going to force them to have it anyway. Now, the whole notion of, well, there's foster care and there's adoption, it ain't enough of that. It ain't going to be enough of that. It wasn't enough of it to begin with. But anyway, looking in the comments, plus testosterone makes you go bald anyway. I don't know what that's talking about. The world is about to see who the real God is soon. It will be hell. It will be true hell on earth. That sounds like a American privilege kind of statement where you say the world is about to see who the real God is soon. It will be true hell on earth. If you go tell it to somebody who lives in the Congo or Rwanda or so, it's going to be true hell on earth. What do you think has been over here for the last 40, 50 years? That sounds like a statement somebody with American privilege who have never seen what hell looks like would say something like that. There are nations, go tell somebody in Gaza about how bad it's going to be. They can tell you it's already happening now. Go tell that to somebody in the Ukraine. I mean, that's some American privilege right there to say something like that. You go to Rwanda and tell them. Jimmy Erb said, no, you go to Rwanda and tell them. But he didn't type Rwanda. He typed Lawanda. Lawanda, I don't know who Lawanda is, but okay, that was funny. Nothing compares to what the tribulations will be like. Suffering is suffering. If you're the mother of a 2-month-old Palestinian child and you got to listen to the child literally starving to death cry every single day until that child finally goes silent out of starvation, tell me what's different than that. You're going to tell me, well, when God comes, it's worse than that? I mean, that's pretty fucking bad. And that's actually happening now. There are plenty of kids starving to death every single day in Gaza because they're holding up aid. In fact, what is it, Greta Thunberg or whatever the girl, the one that the right hates because she supports liberal causes like climate change and shit like that? She just recently jumped in a boat and they went over there to deliver aid to the Palestinians. And the Israeli military stopped them. So that is aid that won't be delivered. They're literally starving those people to death. So you start talking about hell on earth. Yeah, imagine being a parent and having to sit there and watch your infant cry every day because they're not getting any food. And you just literally are watching them waste away. Just watching it. Watching your kid, last week this child was 10, 15 pounds heavier. You're just watching that. You gonna tell me hell on earth? It's already happening. I don't care about Israel or Syria, says Deadly Shade. And that's kind of the American MAGA way. It's kind of like, what was the movie America Fuck Yeah? What was the Team America Fuck? That's MAGA all the way. I mean, just the whole term. I mean, it's really weird to hear the evangelical MAGA base talk about Christianity while also literally saying, I don't give a fuck if the rest of the world starves to death. And somehow all of this stuff is wrapped up in Christianity, which is why I often tell you on the program, that's kind of what's made me shy away from being Christian. Like, if you can be Christian and do all that, I'm going to pass. I think I'm going to pass on this shit. Let me go hang out with Satan for a minute. At least he providing some free heat. Damn. You're okay with watching babies starve to death and shit like that, and you're going to church every Sunday, huh? You just when you're praying, what are you asking for? New tires on the F-150? Fuck the kid, huh? Oh my God. Anyway, looking at the comments though, Hamas shouldn't be lobbying rockets over to Israel. That ain't even happening no more, Mr. Mike. And by the way, if you believe that Israel in June of 2025 is still acting in self-defense, I would love to hear where you're getting that from. October 7th is a real thing. That did happen. Israel lost over 1,000 innocent people. That's been like almost, going on almost 3 years ago? There's been a long time since Hamas was actively participating in offensive attacks. It's just all Israel at this point. Israel is literally just flying over Gaza, bombing rubble. And the people that are basically barely existing, hiding underground and living in what is left of the rubble, they're bombing that rubble. And so it's not even a fight or a war at this point. It's just a slaughter. I mean, were we just going to keep holding on to October 7th because, it does kind of justify a little bit of what we're doing? No, it doesn't. You're killing people that weren't even born in October 7th. It just doesn't at this point. At this point, it's just murder. And you're saying that they still have hostages. Okay, I don't disagree that Hamas still has a few people, in some cases, their remains being held. But you don't just go and destroy the whole country, innocent people and all, because that would be like, if a few cartel members came to America, snatched a few people, and ran back to Mexico. You don't just go and blow up Guadalajara. All of the innocents. It's like Israel does not give a damn. Like, if an innocent person dies, so what? If a member of Hamas runs into a school while it's in session, fuck it, blow up the school. You'll get him at least. They don't give a fuck. Like, innocent casualties is not even in their. It's not even in their repertoire. It's not even in their language. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of what happened October 7th. It was wrong, but damn, if it was somebody that's coming across like they may have deserved it, wow, they're pretty bad. They don't innocent. When we were in Iraq, we were literally trying to avoid hitting mosques and trying to avoid innocent casualties. Now, we didn't do it all the time, but we were trying. Israel's not even trying. Like, fuck it. If you see dude blow dude up, I don't care if he's in front of a soup kitchen, take him out and you can use a 2,000-pound bomb to get the job done. They just don't care about these people. This is why people keep yelling genocide. They just don't. Innocent casualties, be damned. They do not care. And you got MAGA like, get these motherfuckers, get them. Yeah, the babies, blow them up, get them. These same pro-life people, Get him. His granddad was part of October 7. Get that little kid. They don't, same folks hanging out in church every weekend. Anyway, looking in the comments though, in the beginning, Iraq ROE was different than the ending. Okay, well, this is the ending for Gaza, by the way. This is the ending for Gaza. I mean, at this point, the people are so starved to death, a lot of them couldn't even pick up a rifle. There is no resistance coming out of Gaza. These people are starving. You show up, I mean, you could probably threaten to lock them up would guarantee 3 hots in a cot, and they would probably prefer to be locked up at this point. These people are wasting away. So this is not some kind of defensive action Israel's taking. They're just killing people. Send a shout out to Chupa. I don't know the last name there, Mikey, but there you go. I would have thought Trump would have helped Israel. I was wrong. He is helping Israel. That's where they're getting all the weapons from. By the way, did you hear that I meant to bring this up in the show, but it didn't come up. But the drones that were scheduled from the Biden administration to continue helping the Ukrainian war effort, Trump didn't send them to the Ukraine. He sent them to the Middle East. He still does not like Zelensky or the Ukrainians at all. And of course, he is doing nothing, with emphasis on nothing, to punish the Russians. In fact, I want you to hear a clip because this one is kind of comical. This is Trump. Now, he spoke to Vladimir Putin recently about this whole event. And in my opinion, he said something that is almost not comical, but borderline insulting in regards to this war effort.
In a negative sense. But sometimes you see 2 young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have 2 kids, they fight. Sometimes you let them fight for a little while. You see it in hockey. You see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds, let them go for a little while before you pull them apart. And maybe, and I said it, and maybe that's a negative because we're saying go, but a lot of bad blood. There's some bad blood between the 2. I have to deal with it, and the chancellor has to deal with it. It's incredible. There's a great hatred between those two men, but between the warring parties, great hatred.
In the war in 24 hours, my ass. I mean, this sounds like a man that's in over his head. I mean, it just really does. I mean, he's making it sound like these 2 gentlemen just hate each other. First of all, Zelensky is not even a dictator. Zelensky just got elected not long before this war kicked off. So Vladimir Zelensky did not get elected with some kind of notion that I'm about to go to war with Russia. This was Putin, because Putin took Georgia in 2008 and Crimea in 2014. Zelensky wasn't even around yet. I mean, he's literally putting Zelensky in this, well, they just like to fight each other. You got to just let them go. Zelensky is fighting for his fucking life. I mean, this is insulting. I'm just going to say it like that. This is insulting to anyone that sees the Ukrainians as a victim. This is almost like someone like fucking Brock Lesnar or Shaquille O'Neal getting in a fight with their little petite wife and the cops showing up and saying, well, these 2 people really don't like each other. Sometimes you just got to let them fight. Like, this person, one country is like a juggernaut compared to another country. And he making it sound like, well, the Ukraine just wanted to get in a fight with the Russians. And well, they just hate each other. They like to fight it out like the Hatfields and McCoys. Like, as if the Russians didn't start shit. This is insulting. This is really insulting. But it does go to show that Trump is really hesitant in holding the Russians accountable. I mean, he's still kind of both people, bad people on both sides is what he's kind of trying to say. He's kind of trying to say a Me Too type argument here. And he's probably the only world leader that sees it that way. Certainly among our allies, among the UN, among the NATO members, none of them see it like that. This is just insulting to indicate that, well, the Ukraine and Russia, they just don't like each other and they want to. No, one country invaded the other one, and that country is just literally in a fight for their lives. If Russia withdrew from the Ukraine, this war would end today. This would be over with. And then, I mean, he makes it sound like the Ukrainians are eager to fight, and they, bullshit. You got no solutions, just slams others, says Michael Sanchez. Well, the number one solution is to acknowledge who the bad guy is and quit trying to make it sound like Zelensky and Putin are on equal footing. That's the first solution, is to actually hold the bad guy accountable. So, well, excuse me, we can start there. There's a bunch of things I could come up with that I think has been done wrong with this administration, certainly from a cruelty aspect, but you probably wouldn't see that as a solution. You forgot who started the war, says Airborne Rangers. Yeah, I think you probably are indicating that you have a different opinion on that. The Ukrainians didn't start the war. I know a lot of folks believe, well, they were flirting with joining NATO or whatever. The Ukrainians did not start the war. And like I said, everybody in the region, all of NATO, the United Nations, they all agree that Russia started the war. Only people that are saying that the Ukrainians started the war are probably Russia, Belarus, and MAGA. That's it. Russia, Belarus, and MAGA. The rest of the world is likely saying that the Russians are the aggressors in this. I don't know why MAGA is so much in line behind Russia other than because Trump is. That's it. How is that a solution? Hang on a second. Somebody's trying to... what does it accomplish? Well, if I believe that you should continue helping the Ukrainians for a bunch of reasons. First of all, it'll give the United States greater access in the region because we'd have a permanent ally in Ukraine. Russia is the second biggest superpower we're often concerned about, and every single death that Russia is dealt, every single loss of bombers and equipment, all of that makes them no longer any threat to America at all. So weakening Russia also is in our best interest. Who do you think Trump is building iron domes and shit, which is costing billions of dollars for? Well, he's building that to protect us from China and Russia. So the less likely they are to do something, certainly with Russia being greatly weakened by the Ukraine, the less we have to spend on all this defense. So a weakened Russia works in our favor. So my advice would be to continue helping the Ukraine. You're going to get, like I said, you're likely to get American bases and assets in the region because if Biden had won and continued helping the Ukrainians, they're going to give America under Biden any access to the Ukraine that we want. Any access. You wouldn't have to ask for part of the rare earth minerals. They would have been happy to give them to you. You would not have to ask for any of that stuff. So we would get a permanent ally in the region, and that would give us basically next door access to the Russians, civilians, whatever we wanted to use. There's a lot of benefits to it. And like I said, a much weakened superpower in Russia. And I believe that just like with Afghanistan, both the United States and Russia, at some point you start realizing the ongoing battle is simply not worth it. I mean, as long as we were continuing to arm the Ukrainians and they had to resolve the fight for their nation, eventually Russia's going to say this is not worth it. I mean, this month, they're expected to reach 1 million casualties. I mean, you only got so many men you can have die. What, are you going to start sending the brats over here to fight? I mean, we're giving them shit that we could easily afford. I mean, think about how much money in drones they could, think about how many drones they could build with that parade that Trump is about to have this weekend. If we had, that parade is something that's going to last for a few hours, and it's not going to have any significant lasting effect at all on the life of most Americans. Whereas that money that is going to that parade could have probably worked very well towards liberating the Ukraine. Could have saved thousands of Ukrainian lives. But for us, we go just sit back and watch a few tanks go by and aircraft go by and soldiers march for the span of 2 or 3 hours on cable news, and that's over with. You could have saved lives with that money. So I would suggest continuing to help the Ukraine out. Because everybody in the region believes that once he's done with the Ukraine, he's going to go to other countries anyway. And eventually it's going to hurt us one way or another. The most renowned military strategy in history was written by a Chinese man, The Art of War. I've heard that. He brought up Golden Dome because he heard that Israel has one. Yeah. The way they use those drones in Russia, that Golden Dome shit might not be that relevant anymore. That Golden Dome. I mean, imagine, okay, Russia took trucks that the drivers did not know had these drones on them. What about cargo ships? What about you putting these cargo containers on these ships that go overseas? What about cargo ships doing the same thing? They get off the coast of America and release a bunch of drones. I mean, at this point, and not to mention homegrown terrorists within the country. At this point, the way we've always thought about fighting wars need to be rethought. I mean, they cause a lot of damage with, drones that are about this size. Just a small drone that you could purchase. This drone here could probably carry a good 5 pounds in the air. 5 pounds of, C4 or something like that, placed on the fuel tank of an aircraft could probably get similar results. So, I mean, you're talking about Iron Dome and shit like that. You're expecting intercontinental ballistic missiles and shit like that. Them little drones in great numbers can cause all kinds of mayhem. All kinds of mayhem. So that may not be as effective as we once thought. Even from a standpoint, not necessarily of the massive chaos that come from a nuclear piece of ordnance, but the fear factor. The fear factor. Americans are not used to war on our soil. You don't need to kill but a little bit of us before you would really disrupt American life. You don't need to do a lot of damage at all because we're not used to that shit. Just a little bit of damage to have people scared and shit like that could go a long way in this country. Real quick in the comments before we move on. Miss Mo Betta, good evening. Welcome to the program. Southern Cal is under Trump's control damn near. You think he's doing a good job? Miss Mo Betta, good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
Hey. So what do you think? You think Trump is getting it right?
Getting what right?
Everything,
most, I ain't gonna say everything. Most things he touch ends in ruin.
Damn.
Even including a lot of his own personal businesses. Now, he stopped, he didn't want to help the Ukrainians, but he'll take the military to go at his own folks.
That's a good point.
He spent, it just makes no sense to me. For what? Maybe 100 people out there?
Well, it's more than 100 people, but I mean,
I'm sure it was more than 100 people out there, but for
I get your point. Yeah, it's overkill. It's overkill.
So,
I get your point.
Make that make sense. They stop a boat from going to help starving children in. How do they see any kind of good in that?
I've said before that if you can convince people that you're going to give them money, you could bring back slavery. I think what's helping Trump out is he's convinced folks that they're saving a ton of money in waste, fraud, and abuse. And because that's happening, they'll turn a blind eye to anything. I mean, look, you saved me money. I'm good with it.
We see that happen. We see them turning a blind eye. He has no guardrails. He's even going against the law. He's not even afraid of the law. Because when they gave him that complete immunity, that he like, all right, it ain't shit they could do to me. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. And I don't care what they say about it. I'll fight it out in court later. Guess who's going to pay that bill? Us.
Yeah.
That bill trickles down to us. So, American people, that is, for those who don't understand who us is. Any tax-paying people, that's who the bill goes down to. So, and they keep saying, "Oh well, Obama deported more people than him," and he did it with grace.
I think
people in the streets rioting and burning down shit. Like, he handled his business without having to try to humiliate people. And that's Donald Trump's thing. He's such a big ass crybaby till he feels that he has to belittle people in order to make himself feel good. So now he has no moral. It's hard to attach yourself to that. It ain't about even the bill and the laws and stuff. It's him. He set himself above all of that stuff. So of course we're going to go at him personally.
I think that the pursuit of Obama's deportation records is what's causing this, because I think Holman, they want to get 3,000 deportations per day, and that's what has made it go from deporting people, as opposed to just getting rid of people that are here illegally, bad hombres, rapists, and murderers. To get that huge amount of people every single day, now you're going for babies and grandmas and
babies with cancer.
Yeah,
babies with not just babies with cancer. His whole agenda was to go in there, and ever since that dinner where Obama made a fool of his ass, he's been had a hard on for him since.
The correspondence dinner. Yeah, I mean, it's
correspondence dinner.
Yeah,
yes.
It would be like if you leave the police, if you leave the highway patrol to their own devices. Yeah, you drive 8-9 miles an hour over a limit, 10 miles an hour over the limit, they might give you a speeding ticket. But if all of a sudden they have to have a huge quota, like 300 tickets a day or something like that, now people getting pulled over for doing one over the limit. I mean, they're going to get everybody. And that's what I think is happening with Trump, is that 3,000 deportations per day, you got to get everybody to meet that type of a quota.
I'm just gonna go. I don't care. I'm going in schools. They showing up at people's graduations to get people like. Where do they see humility in that? And this is if anybody want to shame Trump, you got to tell them you're not the boss. It's the white Christian nationalists who is your boss. You're just a puppet. You're just a puppet, and he has. Again, he has no filter, he has no moral, and they know he has a lot of nerve. So he gonna go out there and make a fool while we gonna sit back here and still dictate what we want.
But let me ask it to you this way:
what we want.
If you're suggesting what he's doing is cruel, like going to graduations and deporting people in job sites and things like that, why do you think MAGA is so much in favor of that? Because he told MAGA, just like the rest of us, he was going to be deporting, rapists and murderers. Why would MAGA be cheering on going and interrupting a graduation?
Because it makes them feel empowered. Because they voted for that fuckery. They're like, oh yeah, well this is what he ran on. This is what he said. He said he was going after the criminals. He didn't say they was going after babies with cancer. He didn't say none of that. We're not gonna go to the school and take children and shit out of school. What are they talking about? Like I said, he makes them feel empowered, and that's why when it comes to even racism, he may not be racist, and everybody that voted for him may not be racist, but those who are did.
Yeah, and that's worded stronger. I can't fuck with that. That's worded stronger. But I mean, but
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, Tim. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Like, he wanted to pull out the National Guard, and of course we're going to continue to talk about January 6th because that was a total insurrection, and they were going after high government officials. Who talks about unaliving the goddamn president of the United States? The vice president, pardon me.
MAGA.
They were looking to assassinate the Speaker of the House, assassinate the vice president, shitting on desks, police officers, people losing their lives for however reason. It was because of him.
Yeah.
How many people was lost to the C-19 because of his negligence? All of that stuff has to be included. And that y'all chose to bring him back. Now you got RFK in there just doing the same thing that he did with the C-19, which caused many people to lose their lives, millions of people to lose their lives because of
Let me ask you. Now, this is pushback. Jeremy Stick in the comments says, "Oh yeah, an insurrection without any guns." How do you respond to folks who say it could not have been an insurrection on January 6th because they were not armed?
They were armed. They didn't have the firearm, but they used other things like flagpoles and different things as weapons.
Yeah.
And anything that you use to harm another individual becomes a weapon, even if it's your finger.
I will say this also. Trump is currently calling what's happening in California an insurrection. They're not armed either. I mean, so
they're unarmed. Because they were throwing rocks and different things like that. That's the same thing. And it was only a fraction of the people in LA that it was at the insurrection, at January 6th insurrection. How many people were locked up from January 6th? Over almost 2,000 people, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a fraction of that many people in LA. They locked up 50 people
so far.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
But do you see how when it comes to him, he either highlights or fabricates anything that has his name attached to it to make himself look like the big man on campus. He wants to be the savior, but he's the one who's causing the fire. He's the one who's causing the chaos, but then want to go in there and act like he's the savior. You start a lot of this stuff.
Well, he
starts it.
It's actually working. I mean, his support among MAGA. Let me ask you this way: not only is his support among MAGA strong, but what you're pointing out all of this stuff that Trump has done, some of it sounding quite cruel. Why do you think even now, as we speak, his poll numbers are still competitive with the Democratic Party?
Simply because there was a black female representative. Not only did Hillary beat him, so did Kamala. And listen,
Kamala. How did
Kamala also beat him? And all we needed was Elon to say he didn't get mad enough to tell him how they fixed Starlight fixed it. So listen, how do you get blue down the whole ticket, the entire ticket, and red for the presidency? That's not how that works.
Are you accusing somebody? It sounds like you're accusing somebody of cheating.
Cheating. CHEATING. So y'all know what I said. Cheating. Yes, I said it.
But I haven't heard Biden I haven't heard even the Biden administration accuse the Trump side.
That's what makes the Democratic Party weak, because they always want to be the nice guy. You can't be the nice guy when you're playing with Tasmanian devils. You can't. You can't. You need some, and that's why they don't like Jasmine Crockett, because she don't put up with none of their bullshit, and she's not afraid to say it.
Yeah, but you know, Jack, you talking about not wanting a black woman. Jasmine Crockett is more black than even Kamala Harris by a long shot. So.
Absolutely, and very, very much qualified to be in her position and to talk her shit. She got numbers and paperwork to back her shit up, and that's what they don't respect. They don't like that. That's why when they say "Make America Great Again," it's for them. It's not for us. It's not for anybody that look like me. That's what "Make America Great Again" means to them. They don't want to say it, but I'll say it for you, because we know what y'all mean by it. And it does not benefit me or anybody that look like me at all. And no, I'm not angry. I'm passionate, and I'm not having that bullshit. So if anybody got any comments or anything, you better get it off while I'm still online.
So do you think that?
Because I know it's coming.
Yeah. Anytime a sister has a passionate opinion, they say you're angry. Yeah,
they call us angry. We're not angry. You just don't respect the knowledge that we have. Because if it was left up to y'all, we would never be in this position. We would still be in the kitchen cooking your food and breastfeeding your babies and shit, and fucking your men. Shit. If it was left up to y'all, we're not having that anymore.
Well,
sorry.
In the words of the late great James Brown, it's a man's world. So I guess I would have to ask though, because I see some folks in the comments already saying you're racist and you're an angry woman.
I'm not exactly, and this is what they are so intimidated by because we speak loud. I'm loud as fuck. I'll admit that. I'm loud as fuck. But I'm passionate. I'm also educated, and I'm also intolerant of bullshit.
Do you?
So you can't pee in our ear and tell us it's raining anymore.
Yikes.
That ship has sailed.
Yikes. And I see in the comments, Ask and See, it says, wow, a racist witch. Do you see Jasmine Crockett as having any chance ever, though, to win a national election?
Probably not, because it's not enough of us. Yeah. It's not enough to do the numbers like that. What, black people are like 14% of the national thing? So it's not enough of us. It'll take a really strong campaign to say that she would get that, because they already see her as angry. Even black men. Even black men don't like that. See, majority of the black men don't like being checked. We're not allowed to say anything to them, whether it's corrective or however. They like, oh, we don't listen. I was on the live earlier talking about, we don't listen. Listen to what? You have to tell us, be able to lead before you know what I'm saying? Be able to follow before you can lead.
I think there's a possibility for a black woman to win, but it has to be, I guess you'd almost have to have tact that white America and even black men in America are willing to accept. Like a good example would be the character. I don't know what the woman is in real life, but Felicia Rashad, the character that Miss Huxtable, a character like that, where she was educated.
Claire Huxtable.
Yeah, somebody who has that type. Now she was a black woman, obviously. She's not too black, because that's going to be a problem too. You can't be Idris Elba or my black. You can't be dark as me. But I would say somebody like Felicia Rashad, her character on that show, where she was well-spoken, she was firm, but she wasn't passionate. Somebody like that might be to pull it off. Might.
Yeah, might. But I mean, Kamala was really similar to her, but when it came to the black people, they looked at the fact that she had a white husband. Yes. You know, she had no children, or she laughed too much, or whatever. You never hear them mention that she wasn't educated, or then they started saying, "Oh, she locked up more black people." First of all, she's a prosecutor. Second of all, show me the ones that were locked up that did not deserve to be locked up.
Yeah, she wasn't. Yeah, she was not very appealing even to black people. I mean, that's like you mentioned, having a white
black men.
Yeah, having a white husband kind of hurt her black card with the black community, and the white community wasn't accepting her anyway. So she's kind of in no man's land.
What's calling Kamala garbage make you correct about that? That's just your opinion. And you're an immigrant, so what's the difference?
Damn.
How if we call ICE right now, go pick your ass up? Would that make it any difference? Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
I think Kamala. Oh man, they don't like you. But
they flagged me. I said the I-M word.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and move it on. But I think Kamala Harris did have a few bad interviews, and she only had 100 some odd days to run. So
yeah, listen. I mean, again, this misogynistic country and racism that it was built on, it would make it very hard for us to get ahead. We have to work twice as hard to get to state our claim.
What about Candace Owens?
She been sold out. Her black card has been revoked.
Fair enough.
It's been revoked because she tried to use us like pawns. You understand what I'm saying? So she never really. I rarely heard her big up anybody, black people. Yeah. You know, everything was always shooting at.
I don't even think she. Yeah,
pointing daggers at them, pointing fingers at the black community. But when she needed that protection, guess who she tried to run to?
Yeah.
Now that she's been fired all over the place, they don't need you anymore.
Yeah, she's down there with Stacey Dash tried that a few years back as well. Yeah, for Candace Owens, the black community is never going to accept her back.
Yeah, and my question was, who raised these heifers?
Money. Candace Owens you can make a killing bashing black people. If you're a black person.
We see that. That has been proven.
Yeah,
has been proven. You got people on here living off the sweat of black people now. That generational stuff. So I know. I already know.
It pays well. I got to move it on, Miss Mobetta. Always a pleasure.
Indeed, Phil. Indeed.
Thank you. Good talk. All right, moving on with the program. It was America's opinion and she sucked, says Ed G. Listen, based on the voting numbers, I guess with Trump winning all 7 swing states, I hear where you're coming from. But I think what made Kamala Harris suck the most is she didn't have enough time to run. I think Kamala Harris' loss is more Biden's fault than her fault. If Biden had been a one-term transitional president, well, chances are if he had only ran for 1 term, Kamala Harris would not have even been the nominee. But I do believe what hurt her the most is she only had 107 days to run. And even in that 107 days, she didn't do enough interviews. And some of the interviews she did were poor, such as going on The View and saying I wouldn't do anything different from Joe Biden. Like, how could you not have that? I mean, even Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was running for president, I forgot what he said, but even he had a slightly better answer than that. And we know Vivek was not promising to do a damn thing different from Trump. But even he did not get up there and say something that bad. So yeah, and The View is nothing but friendly territory for liberals. How she would go on there and say something that crazy, I have no idea. But I do want to play a quick clip before we continue on, because this is in regards to one of the viewers talking about the J6 insurrection and how it can't be an insurrection because nobody had weapons.
Now to breaking news. We're just learning a West Suburban man has been arrested for taking part in the January 6th Capitol riots.
He's accused of firing a gun outside the U.S. Capitol building. Take a look at these photos from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Investigators say the man climbing scaffolding and waving a gun there is 39-year-old John Banuelos of Summit. Prosecutors say Banuelos fired twice into the air during the 2021 insurrection. He's also accused of threatening police and raising his shirt to reveal a gun in his waistband. The FBI arrested Banuelos today on a number of...
No guns on January 6th. Keep that in mind. The guys on video popping off shots. Literally, I mean, you can literally see the smoke coming out of the gun. They circled it. He's on video. Nobody has guns there that day. This dude is on video. You can see gun in his hand. You can see the smoke coming out of it. Nobody, you think he's the only one, huh? He showed up, the only guy with a pistol on, showed up by himself. Tell Miss Mobetta she is beautiful, says Super Self Fusion. Intelligent when she is speaking. Ask her what does she think about if Elon Musk backs up the Democrats. I think if Elon Musk start backing up the Democrats and they take his money, it makes the Democrats look like hypocrites. I'm not saying if I was a Democrat politician, I wouldn't take that fucking money, but it makes them look like hypocrites. Elon Musk you got folks who are suggesting he threw up a Nazi salute. How could you take money from that guy? I don't want to hear about Marco Rubio saying Trump is very Hitler-like and he's a hypocrite now, or what Ted Cruz said. If you take money from Elon Musk, you're in the same category. Like I said, I'm not saying I wouldn't take the money. It's either that or lose. I can understand it, but you are diving headfirst into hypocrite territory as a Democrat if you start taking money from Elon. Elon has done a lot of things that the Democrats feel are cruel, up to and including loss of life. I mean, all of that USAID stuff we talked about earlier, Elon is behind that. People have died from that shit. Not to mention all the federal employees that have lost jobs. I mean, hopefully none of them committed suicide or anything like that, but certainly there's been a lot of hardship among all his federal firings. God knows if he turns out to be responsible for some airliners going down, all of the plane mishaps if you're taking money from him, I don't want to hear anything about hypocrites from that point on. Veterans have lost jobs. Yeah, I see that. I mean, people are going to be losing health care. They're still trying to deny that they're not going to be fucking with anybody's Medicare or Medicaid. But I don't think that's even deniable at this point. I don't think that's even deniable. And what really makes it bad is you're taking things from Americans, and we're not even talking about illegal immigrants at this point. We're talking about American citizens, born and raised here, red-blooded Americans, white people. You're taking shit from people that is really going to negatively affect their lives, perhaps forever, but you have money for this parade. I mean, that is the low estimates I've heard is 40 million. The high estimates for this parade has been over 100 million. You have room for that, but you don't have room to keep people who are working in some of these office buildings for the federal government. When you're terminating these folks, they can't pay their rent, can't pay their mortgage, they can't keep their cars, they can't keep their kids in daycare. I mean, you're having a we can say a birthday party, or we can just simply say a military tribute. Whatever the case may be, it's not mandatory. What's happening in DC this weekend is by no means mandatory, and by every means incredibly expensive during a time when you're literally handing out misery like candy to a bunch of Americans. Just for this year, we're going to postpone this. Too many Americans are suffering for us to sit here and honor the military at the tune of tens of millions of dollars only weeks after we fired thousands of people. This is where the whole cruelty thing comes in, where you just aren't reading the room right. I mean, you can't postpone this military tribute till next year or something. I mean, this is unnecessary. I don't care how it boosts morale. This is 100% unnecessary. After all of the Americans, I don't know how many tens of thousands of Americans have been fired from their jobs. It just comes across as insensitive to do that. So these people are sitting at home, filling out, applications online and shit like that, and they're sitting there watching you on TV, sitting down in a nice, comfy, king-like chair while tanks and shit go by, and you smiling and waving at the crowd. That just looks terrible. It's a show of force to the world, says Mr. Mike. You really think that without this parade, the world would not know what we have? We've been at war for fucking 70 straight years. Iraq, Vietnam, Panama, Afghanistan. I mean, do we really? I mean, come on now. You really think we need to have tanks and shit going on the street to convince people we have force? What country doesn't know that already? You really think we got to spend tens of millions of dollars? And by the way, who are we showing it to? Other than China and Russia, everybody else already knows they can't beat the United States. A show of force to who? That's literally insane. It's like you're going to a world's strongest man competition, and the guy that's a foot taller than you and his arms are bigger than your thighs. Well, let me pick this up to show you I'm strong. Do you really need him to do that? You can't see it? You can't see all the wars and shit we've survived. I mean, do you really need to spend all of that money to do that? That's kind of funny though. He says my wall is a bit confusing. What is your political party? I lean left, but I'm not so far to the left that I can't see problems with the left. I don't lean so far to the right that I believe the right is awful. I can see good on the right. I can see problems on the left and vice versa. I don't believe everything about Trump is bad. I don't believe everything about Biden and Harris was good. So I'm pro 2A. So there you go. That's why the wall may be a bit confusing, is because I can see a little bit of both.
Take a look at these photos from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
For folks who always wonder why the hell do you have a MAGA hat on if you lean left or call yourself a liberal, it is because I do believe that the right, particularly conservatives and definitely MAGA, do not always get a fair shake in the media. So anytime you see me on, you'll see a MAGA hat in the background to make it clear you get free speech here. You get free speech here. We don't have to agree on a damn thing, but I will always protect your right to speak uncensored here for as long as I run the program. And MAGA are my preferred guests, so you'll see that. Anyway, looking in the comments, though, he tried to restore order. They tried to restore anarchy. JP, I don't quite get what you're saying there. They said America's not a war zone, then watch LA turn into one. You think LA is a war zone? I mean, you realize how many people live in LA that are going to work tomorrow, Their house is fine. There's nobody protesting or rioting in their neighborhood, and they live in LA. It's what's going on in that town is happening in the downtown area, about a good square mile or so. Most of LA is not involved in protests. Don't let the mainstream media show you the same cars burning over and over again and make you think it's bigger than what it is. It's not. A lot of the city burned down back in January. I don't think it's fine. I don't think it's fine either, Florida Blondie, but I don't think it needs the active duty Marines being sent there. I think Trump is overstating. And by the way Trump is doing it, he's really not for peace. He's for domination. What he said earlier, for instance, and I'll play the clip again, but what he said earlier, to me, this right here is nothing short of inflammatory.
Do you foresee those protests spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
Yes, we're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Now, it is unacceptable to spit on a police or spit on a military officer. I'm not going to disagree with that part. But to have a president on TV saying when they spit, we hit, he's kind of letting the cops know that if somebody spit on you, you can beat the shit out of them. I mean, if you're a federal officer, he's got your back on that. Now, Trump has a history of saying things that tell cops they're free to beat the shit out of people. When you put what did he tell once? When you put suspects in the car, the whole putting your hand behind their head to protect their head, don't do that. He said that. He said a few things. They're kind of drawing a blank right now, but I had a whole montage. I did a video about a year ago. He said several things that are pretty much telling cops when you want to. I mean, didn't he go before a whole group of police cadets that were graduating from the academy? And he said something bad to them, told them to do something that was really brutal to suspects. And the police department had to release a statement making it clear they told the officers don't take that seriously. Trump wants dominant policing. He's making it clear that while president, if you protest him, he's going to go Tiananmen Square on you. I mean, this guy will shoot you, in my opinion. Now, you can tell me I'm wrong, and maybe I am. I hope I am. But I do believe that if you're protesting this guy will shoot you. I believe this guy will do that. I mean, isn't this the guy who rumors suggest that he wanted to do the same to immigrants coming in the country illegally? Put dangerous animals in a moat around the boat. This guy will shoot you for protesting. This guy don't give a damn about your First Amendment rights. This guy will shoot you. I do believe that. Looking in the comments, though, double tap your phone screen like the stream. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. By the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We are indeed MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one. Always have been, always will be. MAGA remains my preferred guest, even though I get more liberals calling in now because Trump is in a hot seat. Back when my infancy of the program, we were criticizing Biden and his economy constantly, and 13 lost service personnel coming out of the evacuation in Afghanistan. Had a large MAGA audience back then. But Biden is not the president anymore. Trump is the one doing controversial shit, so he's getting criticized more, and that caused a lot of MAGA to flee. But they are welcome on the program. Understand that. You don't have to agree with anything, but you're welcome on the program. Unfortunately, a lot of MAGA don't like to hear Trump criticized, and I'm out of here. If you're not speaking favorably of Trump, I'm out of here. But you can come on the program, come on and be a guest and certainly deliver your point. If you enjoy civilized dialogue in that fashion, we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q. Going to ask that you follow